Gentrification is a process in which a low-income neighborhood is transformed by real estate investments and higher-income residents moving in. Gentrification is a favorite villain of the left. But should that be the case? Is gentrification something to be feared or embraced? Higher income residents moving into an impoverished neighborhood provide opportunity and the chance for integration, which is something we apparently all want, right? So when it comes to fair housing, should public policy be focused elsewhere? All right, yeah, so I read this article and I thought it was really interesting. I actually suggest you all read this too. I'm gonna put this into a chat. Talking about like rethinking gentrification and that like it has this certain mystique in the at least especially in the American political left about like how this is the thing that is well problematic with housing policy. And I can hear someone clicking. I don't know. There's someone is clicking. I can hear your mouse. Okay. That is problematic with housing, but it goes through in different points showing that one, it's not clear like where gentrification is even happening. It's not clear what the effects of gentrification is, and we don't know how bad it is. Right? Like all these things are a lot more nebulous than you might think. So, I was wondering, like, should we, as the political left, put our efforts elsewhere? All right, so we'll start introductions. Captain A. Jones.
Hello again. I'm Captain A. Jones. So basically, like when I think about gentrification, yes, it's something that happens. The people affected by it are 100% on the lower end of the spectrum, and it does create massive problems, especially over time. I mean, I live in the Bay Area. If you also live in the Bay Area and grew up here like I did, then you've seen it firsthand. No matter where you live, your neighborhood, if you've continued to live here, your neighborhood has most definitely gotten better in terms of, you know, people moving in who have a lot more wealth, your land value going up. And so for the people who were able to stay, like my parents, you know, both of their houses, they're split up. So, but both of their houses, they both live in the Bay Area, you know, are worth a lot more than when they bought them 20 and 30 years ago, respectively. So like for them, it's been a big fucking boon. So, you know, which side of the fence are you on? I mean, I live in San Francisco currently, and there are more people homeless now more than ever. And When there's too many, what the city ends up doing is shipping them off to places like Fresno, places like the outskirts of San Jose, et cetera. So there's clearly a problem. And yeah, I would like to get into the panel's solutions.
Okay. Pisco.
Thanks a lot. I think that undoubtedly there are costs related to gentrification that are undeniable and that are felt predominantly by the lower class and minority groups in this country. Notwithstanding that fact, I think we should recognize a couple of truths about, I don't know, housing market. And I'm not a housing expert or anything like that, but I think it has to be a truism that no one has any property interest or a right to maintain their neighborhood in the way that it always has been for perpetuity. Neighborhoods change over time, and who are we to stop that change sort of, I don't know, artificially by limiting alienability of houses, by limiting the ability to transfer ownership of land. When the costs of gentrification show themselves in our communities, I think that those are downstream of the real problems that we care about, which is inequality with respect to income, inequality with respect to wealth in this country. So while I can recognize, I think, the harms related to gentrification, I don't think that people ought to have this infixable interest in maintaining neighborhoods the way they always were. And I think to the extent that there are disproportionately bad effects felt by gentrification, they ought to be solved higher up by fixing the initial disparities in wealth and income. It's going to be very related to my position on the issue of crime reform going in the future, which is I think that a lot of these societal ills are dealt with and are existent because of an initial inequality in allocation. And that's kind of my position.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, counterpoints.
Yeah, so I think the primary thing when it comes to, bless you, the primary thing when it comes to gentrification is basically like I understand Pisco's perspective that nobody has any right to a certain piece of land in perpetuity and insisting that that place never change. But I do think there's something beneficial to slower change. And for instance, like I forget if it's Prop 10 or Prop 13, but basically fixing property tax increases for houses at like 1% of their value year over year. This has led to an extreme advantage for people who purchased 30 years ago. I basically think that this is perfectly fine. It keeps natives, it keeps people who have been there for a really long time capable of affording the area. And it also makes sure that they can continue to afford the area going into the future, at which point that it's really up to them on whether or not they want to sell, whether or not they want to be gentrified. And if they do choose to be gentrified, then they can sell it for an immense profit. So the way that it typically works is very rich people move into a poorer area by basically buying it up. Well, when they buy it up, the property values go up by 20, 30, 40%. So there's actually a profit to be made for families that have been there for a really long time to take advantage of gentrification, make an extreme profit off of their property value, move to a location that's more easy to afford, and then as a result, resettle their family in a better position than they were if they stayed and tried to hold on for sentimental value. So I do think that this is a concern. I do think that people who have lived in an area should not be priced out within 30 years and, just fuck them, move 5 head. I think that we should be doing these things very gradually, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go to Rakish.
All right. The gentrification is a favorite villain of the list, but should that be the case? Actually, for major cities where gentrification happens a lot more often, I would say yes, just because of democratic control. It's more of a heavy democratic area, so yeah. Doesn't mean the right doesn't have these problems, but they're more concentrated in democratic areas. Is gentrification something feared to be embraced? Well, that all depends on really whether whether you want collectivism or you want individualism. So if I'm being gentrified against, I'm going to side with the person that's being gentrified against. That means I'm looking more at those personal rights, to what Counter was going after a little bit ago. So it's a personal perspective. I want those to override the collective good, which is the city good. And at 30,000 feet, the city good is looking at the collective good for property values and everything else. So that's going to go into a collective. So if you want to, it depends on which one you want. There's really no easy answer for it. That, and through my research, I found that there was no real solid definition of gentrification. There's a lot of definitions have a lot to do with each other, but there doesn't seem to be like one solid punch. Let me see. What was the last one? Okay, so when it comes to fair housing, should publicly policy be focused elsewhere? Kind of. I would kind of say to that. I looked up articles and saw a lot of stuff that said stuff like gentrification or rehousing zones and stuff like that is in California, which was especially surprising, is considered the third rail of politics. And that shouldn't be so, especially in a heavy democratic area. You wouldn't think that would be a policy or even a problem, but apparently it's a very big issue. So once again, it's one of those things that I kind of side with the little guy on this, that if you're being gentrified against, I don't think we should do it. But at the same time, I understand, to Counter's point, I understand the need to move everybody forward, and you're not going to stop society by just one person.
Did you say the little guy?
What?
You say the
little guy.
You side with the little guy.
Yeah, the guy that's getting bumped out.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking from one of these guys here. Like, you know what?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. We got Crayon Man, Pisco the Awesome, and then Captain Ahab up here.
Okay.
That's who I'd reference if I said that.
Gotcha. All right, makes sense. Fanatic.
Well, these takes have been pretty interesting to me. This is going to be a hot one for sure.
Boy.
I think gentrification in general is a problem. You can't possibly talk about gentrification without displacement. And so I think this like whole idea about like it being some sort of nebulous term is kind of ridiculous. We know exactly what the freak gentrification is. Now, there are different ways by which gentrification can happen, but we understand exactly what the freak gentrification is, which is the influx of wealthy individuals, wealthy individuals or just people of a different racial makeup, considering how different communities used to be segregated based on race. And seeing this influx typically results in the displacement of the original people. You do see an increase in value, but then you also see an increase in infrastructure and whatnot. So as a result of this, yeah, these people are displaced, and this is really, really harmful. One, these communal structures are now gone for these individuals. A lot of bases are gone for the churches that are in these places. This is a financial cost that actually comes typically towards people when they have to relocate. The government is largely responsible for a huge portion of these communities that need to be gentrified. So I think like for us to just sort of be like, it's just kind of something that happens. This isn't just something that happens. This is something that we can recognize as a causal relation to some of the redlining and factors that affected all of these people who are now being displaced due to this gentrification. This isn't something passive. This is something that is greatly harmful, and there are plenty of steps that we can take to fix it. That's crazy. The freak.
Love you too. All right. Let's try leader. Is he? I was afraid he's actually been frozen the entire time. Okay. Well.
Oh, I thought you were sleeping.
Yeah.
I thought you just like, just kind of kind of sleep there.
Has he really not been here the entire? I haven't been able to keep track of his face.
I can't tell if he's sleeping. I really can't.
You know, he's definitely frozen. He's not, unless he's died in exactly that.
We
position.
don't know that. I mean, look, it could just be a low quality camera a little bit, and
looks
you
like
can't
an
just.
angel.
Yeah, he looks like he's sleeping very comfortably.
Oh man. Okay. Well, so a bit of a fail there. Well, and he's gone. Can you hear us, leader? He's probably not in the Discord either. Actually, he's probably about to hop out of there too. All right. Well, hopefully he'll be back. Nathan.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So gentrification, is it a problem? Yeah, it's a problem for a lot of people. Obviously, if your rent's going up, you're going to have a problem. And from a utilitarian perspective, you want to reduce problems. So I think a good way is to look at like the solutions. So in the Vox article, there were like 3 things they were pushing as potential solutions. One of them was if I recall correctly, simply building more houses lowers prices in general, like in an area, or building more homes, building more places. So what I would suggest is something like public housing, because, I don't like gentrification, but ultimately on principle, I want people to live wherever they want to live. So if somebody wants to live in an area where, oh wait.
What?
Oh, sorry. I thought I got disconnected from the Discord. My bad. But yeah, so if someone wants to live in an area with like a different racial group there or a different class there, then I think they should live there, whether it's someone going to a poor area or someone going to a wealthier area. But with that in mind, I think the government should take steps to make sure that the people currently living there aren't getting screwed over, essentially. So, I mean, I think there are many situations where public housing is very present. I think in Vienna, they have 200,000 housing units, which represents 25% of the city's housing stock. So I think greater public housing would be great.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Next, Doobie.
I'm a little torn on the topic, to be honest with you. I think that gentrification can be a negative thing for a lot of people that are living in these communities that are being gentrified. But I don't know how we invest in these communities to raise the living conditions for the people there without also raising the property prices and therefore leading to homeowners and landowners to increasing the rent because the area is now more attractive.
to investment, into businesses, into people that want to be around those businesses. And I think that a lot of people that stay there, right, and are now going to be exposed to more opportunity because all this investment is happening, even if it's happening from like white people or Asians or whatever the fuck you're afraid of, right? I think the cultural argument is kind of weird. I think when we talk about the changing culture and we need to keep this area like, looking the same, right? small town sort of thing. That sounds a lot like the arguments that like ethno-nats make about like immigrants coming in. Oh God, they're going to change the culture. Well, we tell them the same thing that I tell you is, yeah, culture changes over time. Doesn't make any sense to try to freeze a culture in place. We can talk about like revitalizing a community without it being like, without pricing out the people already living there. But again, I just don't know how that's done. Everything I've looked into to say like how to do that. Oh, you work with a community and you value culture and the health of the community and the residents there. I don't know how the fuck you do all that while investing in the community and making it more attractive to people, right? Because as it becomes more attractive, people are going to want to invest, they're going to want to build things, and then the prices for the housing is going to go up. That's just the reality. So I'm a little torn on it. Seems like a problem, but it also seems like a positive thing for a lot of the people that are living there. So
Thank you. All right,
that's right.
Open to the panel.
Okay, I don't get how we can keep making statements like it's somewhat positive for the individuals there. When we look at like gentrification, like again, you cannot divorce gentrification from displacement. So for the people who are being displaced, the people who were originally there, it's almost never a positive thing for those individuals. So it's like weird to me when we're like kind of like, I don't know, jostling around the idea, like, it could be kind of positive depending on the circumstance.
Well,
it's like, when? Historically, when is it ever positive for
I think the way that you say that implies that like everybody who's currently living there is going to get priced out and pushed out.
No, I don't have to say that everyone. I don't have to say that everyone.
Yeah, well, so okay, so
please
don't
the way that you're saying that
implies.
Do not start by stretching my argument
to
to something so ridiculous.
Okay,
I didn't say everyone being there would be displaced. Let's have a genuine conversation.
Let me calm down. So,
God,
this is what. So if you agree,
30 seconds.
So if you agree that not everybody is getting priced out, then it is positive for some of the people that are sitting there that are now having more access to opportunity.
Sure, but only sits still in absolutes. We're talking about the average person. That's why I said you can't divorce it from you can't divorce.
It's good for the investors.
You can't divorce gentrification from displacement. So for the average person living there in these communities who have been historically disenfranchised and historically discriminated against, for those individuals, that's where you run into a problem. So when you want to say, well, there are exceptions, no one cares about your lone exceptions. What we would be talking about is what is the norm, what's typically happening, how it's affecting the average person there. Find me your one example of the person who probably found a way of surviving in these conditions, and I will show you the vast majority of people who are not able to survive, who are dealing with all of the harmful effects of the gentrification, such that this displacement is so high in these communities. So, no one's talking about absolutes here.
I don't think there's any evidence that this is. Well, I don't think there's any evidence that what you're talking about is the average, right? I don't think the average person gets pushed out. Right? I think there are many more people who stay there, and yeah, maybe their rent goes up, but now they have access to better jobs. Well, there are studies on this. Right? We can go through them if you guys want to. I actually did look into this. Right, the rate of displacement is only like 6% higher in gentrified areas than in non-gentrified areas, right? So it's not that many people that are getting pushed out because of gentrification.
Either. Let me find the actual number.
Yeah, find it.
Well, regardless of whether or not they're getting pushed out, they're paying more in rent. Is the argument? But I think the mischaracterization from Fanatic was you have to include, if you're doing like a cost benefit analysis, it's good for the investors, it's good for new people moving in, and we have a concern about a particular group of people who I think Fanatic rightly characterizes as constantly being disadvantaged in other ways in their life, and we should deal with that. But what are our solutions? Are our solutions to make new racial covenants on the leasing of property? Are our solutions to restrict who you can sell land to? All these seem downstream from issues regarding inequality. Are there any like actual restrictions on property that you want to put to prevent transfers of property or leases to certain classes of people?
I would say that
that's not the answer.
when we want to talk about like potential solutions, I think the big problem is that when the prices are going up, people are getting screwed over. So what we need to do, in my opinion, is have a stronger social safety net generally, so people have more money in their pockets, and greater public housing would be part of that broader project. And if we can get to a point where people are at a position where, yeah, prices will go up because more affluent people are coming in, but they're not getting they're not going broke because of it. I think that would be the ideal situation. But yeah, I think just a stronger government involvement, better. It would be great.
Okay, so the actual number is 17% of the gentrified neighborhoods had indications of racial ethnic displacement. Now that doesn't go into the specifics of exactly how many individuals are being gentrified, but clearly 17% of them had indications of it. So
they're being moved out. I mean, there's no question that people are.
Is that the same
out.
thing? Before, and we're going to let counterpoints in, but before, because what Doobie said was the rate of displacement, 6% being the rate of displacement. You're saying 17% have been what exactly?
That within gentrified neighborhoods, that 17% of gentrified neighborhoods had indications of ethnic and racial displacement.
But does that mean?
Can I please?
Yeah, that's not okay. So
that doesn't
maybe I'll clarify what I was saying.
Then find me, show me your statistic that says that the minority, that only 6% of people in gentrified neighborhoods are displaced. You did say that. You said 6%.
No, I said there's a 6% difference, right? So over a 10-year
regardless
period,
if they're displaced or if their rent goes up, that's the problem, right? They're increased costs, right?
Right.
Even if
they're not displaced, they're still continuing to experience all of the harmful effects of it, because typically the gentrified areas are the impoverished neighborhoods, right? Like we understand. Let me find the statistic exactly so I can quote it to you.
Before you do that, you're responding to something I didn't say.
Okay, you said I wasn't.
I think
you
misunderstood.
When you were doing that, I tried to stop you, and you wouldn't. But I'll go ahead and allow you to stop me now.
I appreciate it. Okay,
yourself.
I think you misunderstood what I said, right? And that's okay. So what I said is that there's a 6% difference. So I'll post a study in the group down for you guys. But what it found, and this was done over like a 10-year period, they found that 60% of less educated renters, poor renters, moved out of their neighborhood, right? Regardless of whether or not it's been gentrified. Areas that were being gentrified, the rate was 66%, so 6% higher, and this is over a period of a decade, right? So sure, I'll link it for you.
Okay, for the love of God, can I please jump in?
Please go ahead.
So we need to break out who we're talking about, because Fanatic, you basically asked an important question that I would like to address, which is who are the people that are benefiting from these host communities. Well, I think that it's important to differentiate. Maybe it's because you guys are New York and Californians and you don't know what it is to own property. But when there's a difference between like property owners and renters. Property owners actually do benefit from potential gentrification. What will happen is there'll be a whole bunch of pressure from the real estate market, basically saying, hey, we want to go ahead and improve this area. As a result, you're going to see increase in housing prices by 30, 40, 50%. I mean, some of these places, if you hold out, you'll literally sell the house for double, triple what it was when you first bought it, including inflation. So what that really says is, are we pricing these people out of the neighborhood before they have the ability to capitalize on that investment? And then you would need a completely different solution for renters. So if we were talking about property owners, I'm sentimentally attached to, I'm living in my childhood home. I'm sentimentally attached to this home. But at the same time, this thing, my parents bought this house for $200,000 in 1993. If by the time that I'm retirement age, if I can sell the motherfucker for $500,000, $700K, and split that wealth between my descendants, that's absolutely something I'm going to do. And it is going to be a benefit to everybody, because basically I've been able to buy all of my children into home ownership, even if it's in less affluent communities. So there's an absolute benefit. Almost done. There's an absolute benefit to homeowners. Now, if you're talking about renters, I think that's a more important question, because basically when it comes to renters, they don't have the benefit of property ownership. They can't control the prices in their neighborhood. And when they get priced out, they lose the ability to participate in that economy. So yeah, if you want to talk about renters separate from property owners, I'm good with it.
Okay. They also don't have the burden of property ownership, in that they can choose other places to live as well. And with respect to the what's up?
Nothing. Go ahead.
The burden. If you are one of the, I think, what essentially Counterpoints is saying is, if you're an investor, if you're a real estate investor, you're doing well. Or if you're one of these people who the artist who wants to come in and or the people who the Chipotle chain that wants to make a Chipotle in the area, or if you're not really caring about the increases in rent so long as the increase in affluence gets you safer neighborhoods. There are benefited parties here, and you can't deny that. The question is,
but that's such a far cry from the actual discussion at hand. Like just pointing out to saying, hey, look, somebody benefited here. That's like looking at a rape and saying, well, somebody came. Like what, nigga? That doesn't make a difference. The freak are we talking about here?
Damn, you're coming in a little hot tonight.
I got you. I know I am. It's fine. I don't care. Anyway, when we look and we see that 87% of today's gentrified areas were rated as hazardous in the 1930s. So when you start looking at the history of redlining as it's affecting these individuals, and we're starting to see now that these neighborhoods, the reason why they need the gentrification is because they have been denied all of the opportunities that were given to the other neighborhoods. And now we're giving the opportunities to the vast minority of the individuals, the people owning homes in these neighborhoods. We know that the home ownership in these neighborhoods that the wealth and the home ownership is disproportionately not the individuals being displaced. So when we go ahead.
I want to ask a clarifying question. So do you want to split this out where we're just going to say homeowners can benefit from gentrification, but we are concerned about renters because they can't benefit from it, and ultimately they're the people who are being fucked?
Let's not say homeowners like these people are all like mom and pops. Like a lot of these are corporations and investment companies, and not as empathetic. I just have a problem with saying homeowners.
So yeah,
it's a broad term.
And homeowners also don't just like en masse benefit from higher prices. That's not necessarily how it works. I mean, if you have a lot of people,
Prop 10,
if you have like the wealth increasing in a certain area, and all of a sudden these like warehouses that used to house things like whatever the fuck warehouses house. I'm not a fucking warehouse worker. What the fuck do I know? But I just know they used to be fucking warehouses 20 fucking years ago. Okay, and now they're housing tech startups. So the people who were working there were earning a lot less than 150,000 software engineer. 150,000 a year software engineer. So, the entire everything goes up in price. Now all of a sudden you're pricing out people on the lower end of the spectrum. That's how you can be a homeowner from like back in the day, 50, 40, 30, 20 years ago. You bought a home, it wasn't that fucking expensive, but now all of a sudden everything is more expensive in your area, and you're getting bids on your house. You're getting these fucking sharks coming at you every single day, calling you. Luckily, I got them calling me, and I'm not the homeowner in my family. But isn't that so? I think what Fanatic is saying is there's clearly a problem here, and I don't think anybody is really addressing it. We're all kind of like,
well, no one is denying that people are getting pushed out and prices are going up. The question is, what do you want to do about it?
I think everybody was nitpicking Fanatic's statement.
I think
that when he said that nobody gains.
I think is happening. Doobie thinks he's overstating it.
There we go. So there we go. So then exactly. So once you start saying I'm overstating the problem, then that means you need to have some sort of quantification. Because I haven't really even like given numbers for most of the things. So I don't know what you're saying. I'm overstepping a problem. You do admit so you do admit 100% that there are individuals being displaced, right? And I'm saying that that's a problem. I don't know how that can be an overstatement. I'm not even saying to what degree.
Well, you said that the average person was being the average person was experiencing negative side effects from gentrification. I don't think that's true. I don't think there's any evidence for that.
Sure, okay. Yeah. So first off, in an urban area, the average person isn't going to all be at the impoverished level, right? We recognize that even so you can have an impoverished neighborhood, but even still sparkle throughout that, you have wealthy individuals. So I'm not assigning this to everyone. That would be absolutely absurd. But what I am saying is that yes, you can look and you can see that the people who are being pushed out, the people who are experiencing the negative ramifications of these things, and I want you to understand that also displacement displacement is one metric, right? Like there's so many
Yeah.
steps before displacement. You can have the individuals who are still there, who are not being displaced, they don't have anywhere else to go, who are just now like significantly more impoverished. Then you have the individuals who just literally are homeless, who don't live the community. Then you have the individuals who just never can actually get out of their parents' house, or who end up moving in with other family members and families living together. There's so many other things aside from displacement. So if you can show me a significant number of displacement, then that's only a portion of the problem.
Yeah, but you're not even addressing Doobie's
hold on.
like you're not addressing Doobie's like self-evident conclusion, at least to me, which is the better your neighborhood gets to be, prices are gonna go up. And so what Doobie is saying is like it's understandable that as these neighborhoods improve, people are gonna get priced out. What's the problem here? Why isn't this? What is different about this style of pricing out?
So
or the
Pisco,
rapid pace
can
here?
I answer that, Pisco? So
so you go,
Fanatic
and then
is-
we'll go to Nathan, and then Rakist, and then
I think what
Hunter.
Well, I think what Fanatic is really getting to, and maybe I can agree, I guess, with the nitpicks, although I don't like the nitpicking. Let's just agree, like what he's getting at is there's a lot of neighborhoods that in the 80s and the 90s were 60% black or 60% whatever, and then now 20, 30 years later, they're completely flipped. Now they're 60% white and 30% black or less or whatever. So, and that's gentrification, and that's hurting clearly a certain segment of society way more than it's hurting another. In fact, one segment's benefiting from it, and that just contributes to income inequality and problems that we don't want to be contributing to.
It's a function of that. It's a function of inequality. The reason why you're seeing this disproportionately help white people is because black people are disproportionately poorer, which is a huge problem and sin of our country. It's a result of that fact, not a cause of it. Or though it could be itself a cause of it.
We all agree with that.
Yeah.
So then how come you're nitpicking Fanatic right now?
No, because, what I'm not seeing
Look,
here,
we can disagree with Fanatic all day, because trust me.
No. But what we're doing, I think, is focusing on like a super downstream effect of inequality that doesn't seem to have a solution that I can see other than making new racial covenants, saying that you can't rent to white people, or like restricting alienation and saying you can't sell to a certain class of people.
Is that
right?
Wait, no,
Like,
I guess like that's a false.
I must have missed something.
Okay.
Hey, look, I've just been smoking joints all day, but like I must have missed something right there.
No one said that. I literally don't know.
I'm not saying you said that. It doesn't seem
no
to be
one.
like.
I'm making.
But then why say it in the first place?
No, what I'm saying is
that's not.
You're not
Objection.
You're not hearing me. What I'm saying is there doesn't appear to be a solution to solve this gentrification problem other than dealing with our inequalities that we have in the past. How do you solve people selling property and contracting regularly? Well, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
I don't think anybody is saying. I don't think anybody is saying take the neighborhoods and force them to be 60% black again, like they were in the 80s. That is obviously crazy.
I'm not saying any of you are saying anything. I'm posing a question, saying what could be a solution to solving gentrification specifically, were it not a restriction on contracting and leasing. I don't understand.
It depends.
So hold on. All right. So we can. So I want to get Nathan to jump in, and then we'll go to you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot. Oh, sorry, is it my turn?
No, Nathan, go ahead.
Okay. So, since we're talking about numbers, I think it's worth talking about. More households in the U.S. are renting than any point in the last 50 years. A majority of renters are poorer. A majority of renters are people of color. A majority of renters are young people. We have a lot of old people in this country. That's why majority of people in this country still are homeowners. But we can see this is like the broader topic of inequality. Wages are stagnating. Frankly, we're going to see more people renting. So I would rather that we not have a situation where the future majority might be potentially getting screwed because the people that own the properties want to make a better profit from it. So when we talk about like potential solutions, I don't think the solution is like we have to make things like one race here only, one class here only. We don't have to do that. But we can take a sort of is like sort of the neoliberal approach with healthcare, but we can apply this to housing. If we want, we can have public housing at much more affordable to incentivize the landlords that rent their homes to not have insane prices to be able to compete with those places. If you want to get people renting, then you have to be at a certain range, just on like a competitive level. So that's one solution, increase public housing. And overall, we need more money in people's pockets. We need more opportunity in this country because the majority of those renting still want to be homeowners. So we have to get people in the situation where they can get to that mortgage eventually.
All right, Fanatic quickly, and then counterpoints.
Yeah, so I think yes, obviously one of that is the major solution. Increase in public housing, and to actually start dealing with the people who to actually come up with better better resources and plans for the individuals who we have historically disenfranchised, right? So if we recognize that the vast majority of these neighborhoods that are being gentrified are the neighborhoods who have been historically discriminated against, then I think it's not that crazy of an idea to say, okay, good, since we've historically discriminated against these individuals, and now we're going to start investing into these things, into these communities, then we can go ahead and start doing so in a helpful way. So as not to displace these individuals, we can create better social programs for those individuals. Furthermore, I think that this concept, like there are two different ways that that gentrification happens, right? Or multiple different ways, right? So like sometimes it is just investors like deciding to start investing in neighborhoods, but sometimes these investment programs come from like upper levels of the government, where the government is saying this is a tract that we are zoning specifically for this purpose. We've done it historically in the past through what was it called? FDR did it. FDR created it. The
Homestead Act, or
no. I got it. I have it written. Don't worry. The homeowners through the Homeowners Refinancing Act and the Homeowners Loan Corporation. That's how we got to the communities that we have that largely benefited so many white people. So I don't understand why we can't do the same thing now, recognizing that historically we screwed over a whole bunch of individuals in the past with these things. So now we can go ahead and go back and say, hey, everybody that we screwed over in the past, we can do right by these individuals now. We see that these things have already created the disparities. Furthermore, this isn't some long-term downstream effect of systemic oppression. It's also contributing to systemic oppression now, to the equity gaps, the financial gaps of people. This is part of the cause. This isn't downstream. This is it. We're looking at it now. We can trace the negative, harmful effects of displacement. And I don't care about the weird cultural nonsense about, oh, I want X amount of Black people to be there. I think that's stupid. And I don't think that's the way we should be defining communities. I think that's just really, really ridiculous. I don't know anyone who would, well, there are probably some morons out there. That's not my argument. But the idea that we could probably create better programs to address the ideas of rent control is another thing that you do, since renters are disproportionately the people who are negatively impacted by that. Creating rent control and saying, hey, you can't just start spiking up your rent because of this. Nope, we're going to make it a maximum. The maximum you can increase it 6%, 5%, 3%, a rent freeze even in those kind of situations. Hell, those are some of the benefits. So those are some of the things you can do to prevent people from being priced out. If the government is going to be investing into these different areas, then the government should recognize that displacement is a likely outcome. So they should be doing something to shore up that problem, which would be rent control. That would be a huge step. And now you would have all these people doing better for themselves, because as you start increasing infrastructure, those individuals now having the not an increased cost of living will now have access to all these better benefits that they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps, as the Republicans always ask them to do.
Okay, go to counterpoints, then DB, then let's see if we can get Rackus, and then
Okay, so I don't think I really heard anybody address my desire to break people out into different groups based off of property ownership. So I'm just going to do it like presumptively, because the truth is that people who own property in these communities, even if they're like, they bought in like 1962 for $30,000 and now the house is worth, $400K or something like that, they did benefit. Okay. Basically for, cost of living or adjusted inflation or something like that, the house might be worth $120,000. It's worth $400K just because of the zip code that it's in. They benefited from that. They can sell that. They can reap a benefit. So I'm not going to address that at all. I want to address the rent thing. When it comes to rent, I think that the economic consensus is that rent control as a blanket policy has negative externalities that are not positive. Basically, like it puts a whole bunch of people in there. There's like subleasing and subletting or whatever. It happens in New York all the time. People make these these public apartments like hereditary. There's a whole bunch of corruption that happens with them. But at the same time, if you wanted to say like the minimum wage within this city only supports this amount of lifestyle, and we want people to have a good quality of life, then we are going to build a corresponding amount of like either public units or state subsidized units. That way we don't have to have the minimum wage population like commuting from further and further distances in order to support the health of the city. If the city wants a whole bunch of minimum wage workers for lower prestige jobs, then I think they should make sure that people can live in a way to do that. While this is kind of like a tangent, it's something that I've been thinking a lot about recently. Again, outside of California, New York, I know we like to pretend that these are the only two places that exist. But outside of California and New York, there are places with dead malls. Well, you can basically destroy dead malls and turn them into high density, mixed zoning living spaces that aren't reliant on cars, that are walkable communities. This is an option that puts high density housing in the center of a city. And as we all know, because we're all capitalists here, that once you increase the supply, basically the pricing is going to go down. So there's ways to do this within the market, and there's ways to do this with the control. I think the problem is the blanket policies that have proven to be ineffectual in the past, and also treating everyone as if they're all equally fucked, which isn't the case. Yield.
Yeah, I think what.
Let's go to Doobie. Rack is captain, and anyone else? No.
I think I would just kind of like to. So I still think that the problem is being overstated, to be clear. But that doesn't mean there isn't a problem, right? And the reality is that because of things like redlining and oppression, all these sorts of things in the past and today, really, most of the people that are dealing with the negative consequences are going to be minorities, are going to be disenfranchised people, right? So that's just the reality. But so how do we deal with that? Like, how do we invest in these areas, make them more attractive to investment, make them more attractive to people that are going to go in and give these areas opportunity without fucking over the people who are already living there? I think rent control is an idea. Well, you gave a possible solution, but I think that the conventional wisdom on rent control is that it does way more harm than good.
No, that's just simply
I don't
way
think so.
more harm. I don't know how you quantify
more
that.
harm than there's studies on this. We can get into them if you'd like. I posted the earlier study you asked me for. I posted that in the group discussion thing. Posted it in the chat too. That goes over gentrification, and again, you'll find in there this is a long-term study, not done by stupid people.
Give me the part that I need, by the way, because like linking me a huge study.
It's on the third page.
Okay, thank you. There we go. I'll read that.
I don't expect you to read through it right now, right? Maybe rent control is a possible solution, but I don't think, given the size of the problem, right, I don't think it can be the only one. And the reality is, I think some of the complaints are racial, right? They're about racial demographics, and you say you don't agree with that, but typically when this discussions about gentrification happen, a lot of it is racial, right? It's like, oh, this area used to be mostly black, and now these white yuppies are coming in, and oh god, they're building Starbucks and shit, right? So I think that, like, again, maybe rent control is a possible solution. I don't think it's the only one, and I think we need to talk about what might be other alternatives or other solutions if this is the problem that we think needs to be tackled.
Okay, just really quickly, blanket rent control is not a solution. Like it's almost like universally decried by economists as having so many negative externalities that it's not worth it. Targeted, very specifically, like targeted public housing, targeted low-income housing, that seems more realistic and less negative externals.
Yes.
And just really quickly, I think people suggesting like public housing, and you build high density housing like apartment buildings and shit like that. I think we also need to talk about if that happens, that also changes the character and the culture of the neighborhood, right? So you're still going to have some sort of gentrification happening there, because a lot of the problems people point to okay, go ahead, Connor.
I don't want to jump in line, but like this is a lot of people view this. They hear public housing and they think ghettos. That's what they think. They think Baltimore high rises. That's what they think.
Only the ignorant, only ignorant people do that, right? Because
I'm an ignorant person. So fanatic. So if just let me be an ignorant person. Jesus Christ. So the truth is that there's a lot of opportunity though. So for instance, like I was mentioning with the dead malls, like malls are actually like an incredibly interesting architectural concept, meaning that there's public areas, there's basically like communal eating areas, there's communal shops, it's all walkable, it's air conditioned, it's climate controlled. There's so many interesting things about it that basically, lefties talk about like getting in the box. Well, when lefties talk about getting in the box, I imagine those 50 billion story Chinese apartments that look like they're going to collapse at any second. So when you're talking about basically converting these things or destroying them and starting from scratch with like high density walkable housing, what you could really do is re-envision, I'm trying to pitch you guys an idea, so please send me money. But basically, I'm trying to pitch you the idea of gutting malls, like building walkable spaces, building the JC Penney, gut that motherfucker and turn it into nice apartments. And then literally, when you get done with your fucking wage cage job, you can walk to your fucking job. And then literally, the Jamba Juice is right there. The Sbarro Pizza is right there. The climbing wall, the gym, the daycare, the dog park. It's all right there. It's all walkable. You're eliminating basically traffic from vehicles. You're eliminating a lot of the high opportunity costs when it comes to like single family housing. Like this idea doesn't have to be this like negative, nefarious fucking thing. It can be a beautiful vision of the future, and I'm trying to get y'all excited about it.
So sounds like a neoliberal. Okay, I'm not going to say that.
No, hold on. No, fuck no. Get the
I like it.
Shut the fuck up, you goddamn frog.
Shut up.
I am so done with your goddamn bullshit.
2 seconds.
Motherfucker.
These niggas are literally just going back and forth with each other. And
Yeah, they're not saying anything.
While moving the conversation further and further away from everything.
Okay, don't worry. All children, you all get to talk. Everyone gets a chance to hold the talking stick. Moving forward. Doobie, finish your thing. Then we got to go to Captain A. Jones.
Well, I just wanted to point out actually one of the other criticisms of gentrification, which is that it changes the makeup of the neighborhood, right? So you move from mom and pop stores, barber shops, community owned businesses to more corporate like franchises and shit, right? So talking about you can walk to the Jamba Juice, right? That for a lot of people that's going to be a bad thing. Right. So I think this isn't a criticism that I agree with, but when you're talking about gentrification, this is one of the criticisms that comes up. I just think it's important to have it on the table.
Captain A. Jones, then Rakist, then I'm sure Fanatic is bursting, and also counterpoints.
Holy shit, that was so much dumb. I don't know where to start, to be honest. Like malls where the low income individuals can be next to the Jamba Juice, because as we all know, I mean, as a low income individual myself, like I'm drinking Jamba Juice every fucking day. You know what I mean? But anyway, so fantastic idea aside, counterpoints, fantastic idea aside. I don't know how many, I also just don't know how many of these dead malls there are that would make a difference. But like, anyway, fantastic ideas aside, I do think targeted rental control properties are actually really good. I have experience with that, and they're fucking awesome. You know what I mean? And yes, rent control en masse is bad. And I don't think I heard anybody say something like that. But like, yeah, targeted rent control is great. Doobie, like what I think that you're not understanding, possibly, I'm just throwing this out there, possibly because you're a frog, you're not a human. So like maybe you just haven't interacted enough with human society to begin with. So I'm going to let it slide. But like, here's the thing that really I don't think either of y'all are really understanding is that like in order for people to work at these Starbucks jobs or where the food is located at the warehouse, the fucking freezer company, the butcher, these places are low income places, and so we need to have people close by and not like so. And for instance, you take somewhere like San Francisco, which is just where I am, so it's easy example for me. You have every single property in San Francisco is worth $1 million or more. No matter what it is, you cannot rent anything other than a studio apartment a studio apartment is like $2,000 minimum, unless you want to be way the fuck out in like Daly City or something like that, and even then it's expensive as fuck. My point is that the economies can't function like this. Essentially, the city is not going to be able to function as the city that is so vibrant and has so many shops and places on the corner that can, provide all these unique goods and services for people who live here. And we need stuff like targeted rent control And we absolutely need to be like the city needs to be buying up properties that go on the market at the market value. Yes, that might jack up prices a little bit, but let's face it, prices are already so fucking high. Does it fucking matter at this point? I don't really think so. So like, that's what we need to be doing, as well as building, of course, new low-income subsidized housing for many people. And it needs to be spread out. It needs to be done correctly. It can't be just like all put it in fucking Livermore. Oh, there's a BART station there that's fucking 30 miles away from the city. Let's just have people commute an hour and a half each way, and that's totally okay. That's not okay. We need to figure out solutions that are better than that.
Okay.
Prime, can I address this?
You will when you get to your turn. Rakis has been waiting so patiently. Rakis.
Go to counterpoints real quick because I don't want my boy having blood shoot out his nose.
Okay.
Nah, it's all right. I can wait, buddy. Don't worry about it.
All right, bro. No, I like counterpoints idea. I like Fanatics idea. The problem I had when I looked at this, just from a kind of a central point of view, the fact is if you're ever going to solve this, we have to come up. Fanatics right in a way, and so is counterpoints. We have to come up with a solution for it, because once you start gentrifying, you're just moving around this problem, because those people don't disappear. They don't disperse into the ether. They're not gone forever. They go somewhere, and then they correlate, and then we have the same problem over again. So what you've got to do, and I agree with counterpoints completely and Fanatic. I might not agree with how they want to do it, but I agree with that premise of, look, there's a problem. We should solve it. Otherwise, we're just pushing a ball around a court, and we're never really solving anything. That was all I was going to say.
Okay. It was Fanatic, and then Counterpoints, and then Nathan.
Yeah, this conversation has gone so far off the rails from people just like being able to speak with reckless abandon. I don't even know what the original argument was.
You dominated 70% of the fucking conversation. Are you kidding
That is
me?
100%
you
not.
pussy aching right now.
I am willing. 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 I am willing to
bullshit.
I am willing to put up $1,000. I am willing to put up $1,000 right now that I was not dominating this conversation. That I spoke that outside of two examples where I went on for a long time, the vast majority of the conversation was not me. That's not true. Yeah. How much do you want? Are you willing to bet that? Are you willing to bet that I did not dominate the conversations? Will you put up
how much money did you say?
How much money did you say? $1,000 right now.
I'm not that rich, but I'll do $100. I will 100% do $100. So
okay,
right now,
$100.
Right now,
yeah.
What's the timestamp? Fucking PrimeCayes.
The timestamp is 1 hour and 29 minutes.
Yep, it's 6:15.
Right. 1 hour and 29 minutes. Everybody individually timestamped. If you're not the fucking highest person, I will literally give you $100.
Whoa! I'm the highest person here. Get the fuck out of here, okay? I take that title. Get that. No.
All right. Don't be pussy aching about that shit when you're yelling at everybody for fucking 20 minutes.
Now, with that being said, back to the actual conversation outside of people going into their random, complete freaking nonsensical rants about freaking redesigning freaking malls or whatever the hell we're talking about. The fact of the matter is, as Doobie did point out, yes, that gentrification does increase the rate of displacement for poorer renters by 4 to 6%. So I think that 4 to 6%, when you're looking large scale at a humongous amount of people, is pretty huge. Not to mention that typically the thing that causes displacement in general, even when gentrification isn't there, is typically a negative thing as well. So it's like, hey, here's this negative thing that happens, and it seems like gentrification increases it by 6%. It seems problematic to me. I don't think that's overstating any problem. I think that's the accurate number, and I'm willing to accept that. Now, if you start taking those individuals and you recognize why what their conditions have been up to this point in the first place, the fact that we would start saying that we're going to start doing things to improve these neighborhoods while recognizing that these individuals who we have historically discriminated against, who have been getting the short end of the stick by our very government, if we recognize that, the idea that we would just turn a blind eye to the fact that we're going to be displacing these individuals is a little bit ridiculous to me. I think also, I think that the FHA loans, right? Like this is something that we have done in the past again, and I think it's a simple solution. It really blows my mind that I could give that, and then Doobie can immediately respond, well, I don't know. No one's talking about solutions. Like, nigga, I literally said it, and I'm repeating myself now, that we do have things like FHA loans that can obviously improve people's living conditions. And when we start talking about like talking about what was it, the idiot
Malls?
no, the housing,
The Housing Act that you were talking
public
about?
housing. Public housing. When you want to start talking about public housing, only idiots look at public housing and immediately think, oh, it's only apartments. We've always had a completely disparate treatment of public housing for whites and black people. Yes, back in the day when the Public Housing Act was passed, we ended up giving all of those things to black people got access to projects. White people got access to literal homes and communities that were designed specifically close to big tech job, industry jobs, to industrial centers, and those communities were literally specifically racially segregated. So at this point, to sit there and just say, "Oh yeah, federal housing is just a project," that's not what it is. So we recognize the disparate treatment with public housing in the past, and we can now go back and say, "Hey, this seemed to be really effective," because we can trace the wealth levels of the white people that got the benefit of the public housing from the 60s and the 30s. So then we can say we could do the same thing now. And for these displaced individuals, we have the numbers, we have the figures, so we can look at the displaced individuals. The study you provide, Doobie, did a good job of tracking that using census and census information, using your study, using this information. Let's track down those individuals and actually provide low-cost home loans for those individuals to move back into these areas. That's what we can actually do. We've done it before for white people. Why can't we do it for these displaced people? Instant solution.
I'd prefer that over rent control on it, but it sounds like, let's call it what it is. It's some kind of reparation policy, which I think could be a good idea, or some kind of targeted relief to disproportionately affected communities. But let's call it what it is. I don't want to. I'm not too comfortable with limiting wholesale the ability for property owners to rent out at the prices they want to, especially since a lot of what's going on here is commercial development, not just housing development. And a lot of the complaints are not just from residents, but from store owners or business owners who can't afford rents. And so let's call it what it is all I'm saying.
But it didn't have to be widespread like that. You can obviously make a distinction. I think that's a valid distinction. When you start talking about business owners and when you start talking about that sort of commercial real estate, it's a very big difference. We don't need rent control for that necessarily, because typically the people that would be involved there are going to be the wealthy capitalists that can afford it in the first place. But when we start talking about rent control for individuals and their living circumstances, I think those two things are not the same. And I get it. You almost wanted to talk bad about the thing that I'm suggesting by lumping it in, by creating this association with something that's totally distinct. They are distinct entities and can be treated differently.
Okay, please, God, can I go before I have a fucking aneurysm?
Go ahead.
Okay. Ye of little fucking vision. I am surrounded by fucking Philistines. This is so fucking stupid. This is literally left-wing fucking policy that I'm pitching to you cunts, and you're too fucking stupid to recognize it. I'm literally talking about mixed zoning, high density fucking housing, and you're saying because it has an aesthetic that you don't fucking like it? Shut the fuck up. Literally one of the fucking problems. You know what one of the biggest fucking expenses for people is? Transportation. You know what you do when you have a walkable space? You don't need a fucking car. You literally just chopped out a third of your fucking expenses and you can walk to your goddamn job, or you can fucking work from home. Do you know what another fucking problem is with mom and pop fucking shops and all that kind of shit? Is they can't keep up the same amount of fucking foot traffic that fucking super chains can. Do you know what you guarantee when you have people living next to a bunch of businesses? Foot traffic, you fucking Neanderthals. I can't believe I have to fucking explain this shit to you. Like,
don't. No one just wants to engage with this because this is such a far cry from
literally like the fact that you're like, oh, this is just a pie in the sky idea. I'm literally talking about mixed zoning. It's not, you fucking asshole. Literally, when it's supply and demand, if you increase supply, you reduce the cost of something. The fact that you're acting like I'm talking fucking Latin, holy shit.
Right, so now that we're past his tangent, let's go back to address anything, because he didn't address literally anything I was talking
let's
about.
Let's not address anything that I said. Let's not address high density zoning housing,
So these were the points that I gave earlier. These were the points that I gave earlier. And so let's go ahead and address them. So specifically, when it came to the FHA loans that the government did in the past, we could do those same things. That was one of the points that I brought up. So we can do that. We recognize that this was very, very effective. We don't have to worry about creating projects or creating high-rise apartments. We can actually do home loans for individuals in these communities. We can have the government step in the way they've done in the past. It's very effective. We know this. That's a good solution, right?
This is the best use of our money.
This is fucking stupid as shit. No. This is stupid as shit.
Yeah,
Are
you
fucking
Philistine.
kidding me? What do you mean?
Ye
What do you
of
mean by
little
house
culture
loans?
and arts.
Okay. Do you seriously mean fucking 3 quarter acres fucking housing? Is that what you mean?
How dare
Connor,
you
this
call
bores
my
me. I
mall
can't.
idea not
Captain
fucking
Angel, shut the
cultural
fuck up.
arts?
Listen, I know I upset you last time. Fanatic, are you talking about 3 quarter acre fucking single family homes?
Yeah, Connor, this bores me. I can't. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I'm asking you a question. Why the fuck is it boring you?
Because like all you want to do is talk about your ridiculous, I almost said a bad word, your ridiculous mall idea, and that's just not what the conversation is.
Fanatic, I'm asking you a question about your no, shut the fuck up. Answer the question. 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 You want the government to give loans
Go
for
off, King,
3
bro,
2
like, do
I'm
your song
asking
and dance.
you a question. Answer the question, motherfucker. You want them to give loans for 3 quarter acre housing?
Whatever the average housing is in that area.
Okay, then are you fucking kidding me? Because literally every single fucking leftist, I've been on a billion of these fucking panels.
I'm not a leftist.
Okay, then shut the fuck up and listen for a goddamn second.
Why would I need to listen to you addressing a conversation about leftists when I'm not a freaking leftist? I literally gave an entire spiel, explained everything, and then all you do is digress into complete nonsense. I'm not addressing you because
I've
what
already
you're
said
doing
how
is
it's not
moving the
nonsense.
conversation.
Shut the fuck
I'm
up.
talking about
Shut the fuck
something
up.
and you're ignoring it every time. That's why I'm not engaging.
I'm not.
with you.
Okay, I'm not ignoring
talking
shit.
any further.
I think
You're an
Fanatic
idiot.
has proven that he can yell
Okay,
louder than
all right.
You're an actual idiot.
Okay, all right.
Cool.
So we're all.
No, I'm not done.
Oh my god!
I'm not done.
Like I need.
I won't ask him a
What he's
question.
saying
I'll
is
just
everyone
address
else.
his
I'm
point.
not talking to you any further here. So go ahead and say whatever
Good.
you're saying. I'm telling you now. I'm not talking to you.
Okay, all right then.
Good.
So finish your point, counterpoints, and then we'll go to Nathan.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason why all of these things are important is because as far as most people are concerned, the 1,400 square foot quarter acre home is dead. It's an environmental fucking travesty. It's bad for the fucking environment. It causes urban sprawl. It causes all of the same fucking problems that we're talking about. It causes transportation issues. It causes vehicle issues. It causes fucking CO2 fucking issues, which if we take the left seriously, that fucking environmental concerns are a thing, then high density mixed fucking zoning housing is the solution. So I am not being pie in the sky right now. You are not listening to what the fuck I'm saying because you're so goddamn fucking triggered that you're saying that a solution is stupid when it's literally the solution to all the fucking problems. High density, mixed fucking zoning, goddamn housing that's walkable, that supports businesses and families by reducing their fucking expenses and reducing their environmental impact. This is a fucking goddamn environmental and economic wet dream, and you fucking dumb fucks are too stupid or fucking pissed off to recognize it for the gift that it is. So if you don't understand it, that's not my fucking problem, friend.
Great.
Can I
Good.
say
So
something
can
really quickly?
Can someone actually address the points that I made earlier, or are we just going to let this nigga just completely
Well,
derail
hold
the
on.
conversation?
I just want to say something to what Connor said just really quickly. I think it's really interesting that the white man is telling us that this form of housing is dead. The moment the black man suggested we give black people loans so they can get that kind of housing. It's not dead to all the white people that have had it for generations. But when the black people want to, oh God, go to your fucking
that's my motivation. That's my motivation. I don't want black people that own homes. You fucking nailed it, you fucking asshole.
This is exactly what you're doing, right? It's not dead to all the white people that own the shit, but as soon as black people want it, oh God, that's a dead form of housing. You can't have it. Go
that's my motivation. It's not the environment. It's not really reducing impact.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Doobie, you caught me. It's not the environment. It's not increasing walkable spaces. It's not giving people access to daycare or fucking businesses that they can walk to. It's not giving them more communitarian living. It's just because I want black people to do poorly.
Do you think that we should also would you also advocate for destroying the suburbs, right? Knocking down all those houses and building high density housing there too?
I want to address Fanatic's point.
No. Fuck
for the
that.
environment.
Okay,
Yeah,
So-
okay. You know what, motherfucker? I don't think that one solution fits all. I think you can do this shit fucking simultaneously. So no, I don't think everybody should move into the box.
Oh yeah, so the way
But
people
if
get,
hold on,
their
shut the
houses is
fuck up,
black people
Dewey.
go to your fucking apartment.
No.
Okay.
If lefties want to put people in a fucking box because they're all talking about how we got to move into fucking Manhattan and become a gelatinous cube of fucking humanity living on top of each other like fucking rats, then I want to make sure that the box is actually conducive for human fucking living and it's a positive space to be in. But you know what? Maybe you caught me. Maybe deep down, it's just my resentment of black people getting some level of material wealth, and that's really my fucking motivation for suggesting high density mixed zoning housing.
All right.
You fucking lunatic.
So all right. So we'll go Nathan, and then we'll go to Pisco. Okay. All right. And I don't know. I literally don't know why you two are even fighting. I've lost the thread there as to why that had to happen. Because it seems like the things you're talking about are both like something that can be done simultaneously, right? That we can increase loans for individuals to get housing, no matter what that format housing takes. And also increase the supply of housing by using alternative methods, right? Like I've heard the dead mall thing that Counterpoints is talking. I've actually heard about that too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of malls that are gone, right? Because online has destroyed all that, right? So the idea is to change up that land and to use it as housing, or mix with other businesses and all that, right? And honestly, just change the landscape of the city entirely so it's mixed. And so yes, it creates more walkable spaces. Like I went to I've traveled around the world, right? And other places, especially in Europe, and also in Asia too, they have a lot of mixed housing schemes, right? And it's fantastic. I mean, like it seems like you can get to anywhere, right? Like it seems when you walk outside that everything that you need is around you, and you don't have to get into a car and drive out to like 2-3 miles, even more, to get to anywhere. So he's talking about expanding on that, and then also giving more opportunities for the existing housing, because we're not bulldozing that, right? Except the suburbs, we should do that, definitely. But okay, I feel like
I'm sorry, dude. You just suggested doing two things at once, which is, as we all know, impossible. So I don't know, like, and that's just everyone knows that's true. Have you ever tried to walk and chew bubblegum? That shit is fucking hard. Okay, especially right after you smoked a fucking joint. So I'm just saying.
Let's go to Nathan and Pisco.
Let's get a Pisco afterward. I do have a serious point.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll say with the mall idea, I don't dislike it. It sounds like an interesting thing. There's a lot of dead malls. Not my local mall. My local mall is killing it. But in general, like, yeah, I think that would be a pretty good use of the building.
I think you just doxed yourself, because almost all malls are not killing it. So, so we probably figure out where you live. All right, go ahead.
I'm gonna run for city council one day, so it'll be public. But that's besides the point. But I will say, I see a lot of discourse, especially on the internet, especially on Twitter, especially from lefties, of like being against like suburban homes or house, the suburbs. But let's just be honest. Like I mentioned earlier, these numbers: 72% of renters want to own a home one day. People like the suburbs. I like the suburbs. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't mind living in a city, but there's something very nice about not having to be connected right next to your neighbors, and you can be loud as fuck, you know? So my main goal would be expanding choice and expanding opportunity. So I got some numbers wrong earlier about the public housing in Vienna. It's actually more 62% of housing in the city is social housing, and the average cost is like $500 or $600, maybe $400 to $600 per month. That is a much better condition, and because it's government owned, there doesn't really have to be a profit motive. So I think implementing that, especially in the cities in the U.S., would be excellent, because you would be it's kind of the theory with public option for healthcare, but actually better, because I think honestly it's less complicated than healthcare. But I think if you put lower cost housing as an option, and it's good housing, it's good quality, it's desirable, like the social housing in Austria. People are going to go to it. And then people who want to make money from renting, the landlords, which a lot of people don't like, will have to compete in that market. So you can use market forces to make conditions better. And I think when it comes to the issue of gentrification, having people have those options is deeply important. A few years ago, earlier in the decade or last decade, my family was renting. Now we're in a position where we have a mortgage and we just refinanced the house and all that stuff. So it's possible to go up, but we had to have serious help in times of need to do it. So I think that's the role the government needs to play.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Pisco and then Captain A. Jones. So we'll try Fanatic again and Counterpoints, and then Arrakis. Okay, but just so you know, I already know fucking Counterpoints is a thing about a rant about the suburbs. We've done it a few times already. He wants to have loud sex and then not have to deal with his fucking neighborhoods. That's it. That's it. That's literally it. And we'll say that over and over again, right? Like, I want to have explosive, mind-blowing orgasms. I don't want my neighbor to report
I
me.
was saying I didn't want to hear Hans fucking jack it off in the apartment next to me.
Okay,
That
all
had nothing to
right,
do with what I
all
was
right,
talking
no,
about.
no, okay, all right, okay. So, all right, the self-report Counterpoints is not having explosive sex, and so it's not actually a problem. All right, so the host he goes. Let's go to Pisco.
Yeah, sure. I had a question for Mr. Fanatic, which is, you are suggesting that we implement loans so that people of color can purchase property. Is that correct?
Not just people of color, people who are displaced, because
Okay.
because a lot of the redlining wasn't just exclusively Black people. It was people of foreign origin. So Chinese people got bodied by redlining as well. Even Eastern Europeans got bodied by it. Although there's been plenty of redresses that have allowed them to like overcome some of the negative impacts of redlining. But yeah, so I wouldn't want to make it like a race-based thing.
Correct. But it would be an expenditure of government resources in order to facilitate a particular group of people living in a particular place, correct?
Sure, redlined individuals. Sure.
That is justified in your mind because it's back pay, because it's what we owe the people that have been screwed for so long. Is that correct?
No, that's not my motivation for why it's
Okay.
why it's okay. It's just it seems like it would be a current address to what's the problem right now. So currently, right as it stands, we see that there is a problem with redlining impacting certain individuals, and it seems like something that we should probably be able to address. We have the means to do it, and I don't know why we wouldn't.
To rectify historical wrongs, though. I mean, if you're referencing,
It's not. No, it doesn't have to be to rectify historical wrongs. Like that's the framing that you're putting it in. I don't care if there was no historical wrong. If there was no historical wrong whatsoever right now, but we recognize this was a problem that was happening to these impoverished individuals, and there was no direct thing that we could tie it to, I would still say this sounds like a reasonable.
why is it a
situation to do
problem?
that.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. Why is it a problem, intrinsically, for people not to be able to own the places they were previously living in? Without the historical problems. I mean,
that's not the problem. That's not the problem. I don't know.
Okay.
I never stated that it's a problem that people can't own the places that they used to live in.
I'm sorry,
I've never said that.
afford.
Again, my argument has never been about or whatever. My argument has never been about trying to make sure that a community stays in one way or that the culture remains the same. I don't care about all of those things. That's not my issue. My issue is that we recognize wholesale that there's these individuals because of the problems, because of the problem of redlining. I'm sorry.
Without
Wholesale,
reference,
I'm sorry, right. Wholesale, because of the fact that we are gentrifying these neighborhoods, that there is large amounts of displacement happening on individuals. And so that we could probably fix the issue because yes, there are all of these other benefits that we recognize happen, right? So when an area gets gentrified, yes, the education for those individuals goes up for the average person. There's so fewer negative outcomes. The thing that do be linked said as much, right?
Why not be in favor of constructing any kind of public housing in places that are already rich and moving people there? You would have a problem with that, wouldn't you? There's the reason why we're against gentrifying is more than just people can't afford to be in nice areas. The problem, I think, is that there's a historical connection.
You asked a question, and then assumed that I would have a problem with that.
Okay.
And it's not that I would have a problem with that as it just on its face. It's that I think the idea of forcing people to not be connected to their support systems, right? So now you have you have all these additional costs that happen, right? Where it's like, man, now you have to pay for healthcare, whereas before your mother could have done it, right? Now maybe your parents were some of the thing that were helping you move to helping you get to work to and from work, and now that's gone, right? So there's all of these other infrastructural issues that happen when you just completely displace people. That's what I have a problem
When
with.
you're disconnecting the historical wrongs that I agree with, it sounds like you're in promotion or you're in support of, by implication, a much broader policy of the government sort of having an interest in you maintaining your social network and in you living in a particular place. That's what it sounds like to me.
I think the idea of us, because of the capitalist machine trying to make sure that people are able to maintain their communal networks and their social networks, I think that's a pretty beneficial thing. That sounds reasonable to me.
I don't know. I think that it's natural that if you can't afford a place to live, putting aside the historical wrongs that need to be rectified.
I didn't bring up historical wrongs just there.
I know, but I'm just reemphasizing it to show that I do have a sensitivity to those issues. But putting those aside, in just pure abstract, is there anything inherently wrong with you not being able to afford in your neighborhood anymore because prices have gone up?
No,
if so, it's okay.
It's there's nothing wrong with prices just going up, but if we as a country recognize that we've always by us doing something to improve this neighborhood, it's going to have this great harm to a large amount of people there, then I think we as a country can probably say, we need to do this a little bit more responsibly. I don't see
This is such the wrong question though, Pisco. The real question is it okay for people to be displaced from the houses that they've been living in into an uncertain situation, possibly with no relief and possibly with no alternatives? And I just said this to my chat, what about a person who's working for $30,000 a year, who's living in a place that's now way too fucking expensive for them, who now they got to fucking move because they can't afford their rent, and now they're moving to the outskirts. Now their job is 2 hours away from them, so they're fucking commuting 2 hours each way to get to their fucking job. Oh, that's not possible. You're gonna literally kill yourself working 16, 18 hours a fucking day. You're framing it in the worst way, and I'm very surprised, but I'm also not surprised because I don't know what side you're taking about that. I really want to ask you what side are you taking?
I
want to go down this
high
chain of logic
housing,
because I think it's ridiculous so far.
Yeah, so my concern is the historical issues and the oppression of the past and how that echoes today.
Concern, so why'd you put that on me? If that was your concern, if that's what you wanted to talk about, if that was your issue.
You're not understanding me. I'm trying to figure out what is it the harm that we're seeing. I'm trying to assess whether or not you agree with me that the reason why we might support policies that keep some people in these houses is precisely because of the historical sins of the past. That's my reasoning. But I do not think that anyone has an inherent right to extend their lease ad infinitum. And I don't think that
no one said that.
Yeah,
okay.
but promoting
it's not a non-issue.
So again, go
you
back
asked me about my position.
Go back to the actual. Like the person, the analogy, or the fucking.
I was about to address it.
Yeah, please.
So when we're constructing policy, I think we have a responsibility to look out for the most people and to do the best for the most people. And I think that person, we should 100% give more social support to people who feel the bad effects of really misfortune with respect to housing prices. But I don't think that we should halt our urban development or halt our societal development to recognize some illegitimate right to maintain a place.
I'm gonna have to stop you right there, just because. But hold on, Fanatic. Hold on. Did either Fanatic or myself? Because so far, I think I've been kind of on the side of Fanatic so far. So did either Fanatic or myself suggest anything like that?
No, it's a zero-sum game.
You seem to be okay. No, it's not a zero-sum game. That is.
It is money.
Do you think it's a black and white issue?
No, there's an opportunity. Any money or any policy that's driven towards keeping people in particular properties is money and policy or a usage of that property that it's not being used for. So you have to internalize the opportunity cost of how that property could be used otherwise. And if there's a more socially productive use of someone's apartment, and counterpoints was, I think, sensitive to the inefficiency of certain types of homes. If there's a much more socially beneficial use for a piece of property, like build up a huge apartment complex instead of your one home, then I think it would be a shame because of our sentimentality and because of our particular affinity for stories that sound compelling, but on the whole, when looking at societal outcomes at large.
Okay, well, okay.
Pisco,
Let me
can I-
just say that the difference between me and you is I think it would be more of a shame to not do anything because we're so stuck up on, oh my God, we might like do the wrong thing. Like, I actually agree with you. Single housing, fucking having a backyard, that's a fucking old ass notion. Fuck that. I live in the fucking city. I don't have a fucking backyard. Fuck a backyard. I would never want a fucking backyard. Like, what the fuck? You know,
When you enter a
will.
lease with
I
someone,
want a
I
backyard.
agree with you on so
Can I
many
address
things, but
this in
then
a
you
not a
go to
stupid
the
way?
extreme and you make the arguments that you're like arguing against a shadow man right now. You're not
No, no,
arguing against anything that we put forward.
when you enter a lease, there's no expectation that you get to live here forever.
Sure.
That's not
I
what a
agree
lease
with
is.
I
No
agree with
one
that.
said
Prices
that they
going up
should.
doesn't
You're
necessarily always
strawmanning.
have to be a bad thing or
Why
a
is
good
everyone
thing. Like, I'm
strawmanning?
not
Why can't we
against
have a real
capitalism, for fuck's sake.
conversation?
Please stop strawmanning.
Good God.
Okay, can I,
I don't
can I
think that I'm
address this in not a
strawmanning.
stupid
I
way?
think you are though, and I'm telling you,
I'm
are.
not attributing any positions to you guys.
So then, wait.
Okay,
So
well, then
that's
who
what-
are you
so then
arguing
that's-
against?
So then
This is
that's
a
why-
weird argument.
that's
You're
why-
arguing
that's
against
why-
nobody.
Then that's why it feels like you're strawmanning. When we're having
Yes.
a conversation, when we're having a conversation and we put forth our arguments, and then you keep addressing a point that nobody here says while directing it in direct response to us, it's strawmanning. And even if it's not your intention, there's no way it shouldn't come off that way. It's either you're strawmanning or you're completely digressing the conversation because I said something. So if I say A and then you go, well, I know, look, I'm just saying, like, there's no proof for G. And it's like, bro, if I didn't
You're
say
lost,
G,
fanatic.
it's strawman. I'm not
I'm sorry
lost.
to say you're lost.
I'm not lost. What's lost is the fact that you keep addressing this point about someone having a right to live in a place infinitely when none of us have made that argument. That's what's lost because I've not made that. He's
Okay,
not
can
made
I-
that. And you've said it 3 times now.
Can I
It's a
address
straw
this in
man.
not a fucking
Yeah.
stupid way? Can I address this
Okay,
in not a
sure.
fucking stupid
Go
way?
ahead.
Holy
Okay.
shit. Oh my God. Dude,
It's gonna be
okay.
just a stupid watch.
Okay, motherfucker.
Hi.
Don't get all fucking pussy aching when you're getting the same energy back that you're giving me. Don't
You're
fucking
probably right.
bitch.
Uh,
All right, so Pisco. No, okay. So the reason why I think that these things can feel like people have a tie to property or they can have a tie to a region is because one of the things that Fanatics said that I think is worthy of addressing through public policy is designing spaces that promote communitarian ties. So if you can design spaces, housing, commercial zones, jobs, work, walkable spaces, all that kind of stuff that helps keep families together, that's a good thing. And that's something that should be addressed by public policy. And then also on top of that, we have to understand that there is a cost with moving. I know that basically like the upper middle class is used to the just move 5-head kind of take, and you can get more money, but there are things that you lose. So for instance, like my older brother is in Seattle, I'm in Florida. I can't see his kids. I can't, I don't get to be a part of their family because he's chasing money. Whereas maybe if we had better designed social spaces and better designed cities, we could live in the same cities and continue our family bonds and build roots and build a community. Part of like the alienation that people feel from their societies, I think, is constantly chasing money and not feeling like they're connected to their spaces or their community or their businesses or anything like that. So yeah, I do think that. And then also on top of that, like, so if we're not going to say you have, okay, here's the other thing is that basically I'm not advocating for pure apartments. I basically think these things should be condos because if we look at these things, basically one of the ways that a lot of families pass on intergenerational wealth is property value. That's the way that they hedge against inflation. It's the way that they pass on intergenerational wealth. So that's part of the reason why public policy should address both of these communitarian and intergenerational wealth concerns. Yeah, please tell me how that motherfucker talking shit in your fucking chat. Please tell me how anything I said over the past 3 minutes was fucking stupid. Please tell me, Fanatic. You got something to say? No,
Yeah,
fuck that.
it's kind of childish. So
He comes hard and then he fucking backs off.
what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
it is
address
childish.
is that regardless of what you plan to do to keep someone in that house or keep someone in that apartment, there is a socially productive use of that property and there's a socially inefficient use of that property. And in all of your stories, it's the poor woman who has to leave the apartment and go across town, and that's all well and good, but you're not considering the other side to that, which is maybe that property is now being used for a more socially beneficial usage, and that needs to be recognized. And we don't make policy based on the few. We make policy based on the many. And so regardless of if you want to keep people in where they are by giving them home loans or to give them loans to buy the properties, or by rent controlling, what you're doing, I mean, this is a truism, right? The property is being used in a particular way, and it can't be used both in one way and a way which it conflicts. And there's a limited amount of property in these most productive areas. And so however you're keeping that person there, you are trading off the other potentially productive uses for which the money is there for, and which people want to freely use. But you're limiting them in some way, whether that's through loans, whether that's through whatever you want to call it, right?
Okay,
renting policy.
So,
And so you have to consider the other use, the socially productive use.
Pisco.
Okay, Captain.
At
really
what
quick,
cost?
redesigning Americans. We should redesign American cities whenever we have an opportunity to do mixed zoning. That's walkable. That's good for families. We should absolutely do that. People should still be able to live in suburbs if they fucking want to. But there is not a more efficient use of public space than having a place that you can put a lot of people who can afford a cheaper house, who get to save on transportation, and who can walk to work and walk to social amenities. There is not a more efficient social use of space.
Wow.
Connor,
So Connor just said, hold on. I want to point out what Connor just said. He just said we should do the right thing, guys. Because I actually don't disagree with what he just said. But then why are you arguing so hard against people who are trying to do the exact same thing? This is my problem.
Because they're not. They said the
Hold
idea was
on, hold
stupid.
the fuck on. I let you fucking talk. This is my fucking problem with Pisco. All right. Is that he's fucking arguing against, what if we go too far? What if the market goes too far in the opposite fucking direction, dude? Which is exactly what you're literally arguing for. You're arguing for, the rich people can make it more productive. There's people with more capital who could take over that land and make it more productive. You're the exact same person who's defending. Let's take out that warehouse that used to freeze all the fish products that were coming straight off the fucking port, and let's change it into where a fucking startup has a goddamn fucking place to make their fucking product that they sell to fucking rich people. Like, dude, it's actually kind of unbelievable that you're
What
making
you're doing is
and
dishonest right
counterpoints.
now.
What I'm doing is rhetorically a little better than what you're doing, which is arguing for like fucking literally laissez-faire capitalism.
Do you think that's what I'm doing?
What are you?
Do you think I think that we should get
You're
rid of
literally
regulation?
shooting down anything that comes your way, repeating. Well, what Counterpoints is at least doing is repeating the argument. Like, we're essentially saying the same fucking thing, but you're nitpicking some kind of point. I'm not exactly sure what.
Not a
Like
that whole
thing back and forth between Counter and Fanatic.
I mean, you're not even listening to what I'm saying.
That other people are lost, but that doesn't make them lost, motherfucker.
It's not a nitpick to suggest that we should consider what are socially productive.
It doesn't. Just because you think that you have some grand point, you're apparently not explaining well enough.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, all right. It could be the case, right? Trying to help you guys out here. It could be a case that there are other socially beneficial uses for a space, right? That don't necessarily even have to make it like a richer space. Like, for instance, if we knocked over certain housing, right, like low-income housing, and then put a community center there, right? It could be that has a overall better social good in the end, and not necessarily like it doesn't have like a capitalist aim to it, right? So I think that's what
that's a perfect example, Prime. And so the classic example is the use of eminent domain. The classic example of the little person being forced out of their home is when the government wants to construct a highway, or when the government wants to construct some piece of public property that they think is in the social good. That is the classic example. Mm-hmm. And all I'm saying here is totally uncontroversial, is that when you're analyzing these situations, I'm not saying the corporation always wins, that the investor always wins, but you have to consider, I think, rationally, what is the best productive use of this land? And that means not demonizing by saying this is a poor start. Startups bring jobs. Startups bring business. Startups bring investment. And those are something that you can't just like toss aside, is that we're not going to consider, jobs in our cities. We're not going to consider businesses in our cities. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so all I'm saying is uncontroversial, is we should consider what the best usage of land is when we're constructing policy. So and no one will disagree with that.
Yeah, exactly. You literally just step back to make a statement that literally no one could disagree with. So I think that that's like,
You
okay.
did though. You said I was
No,
nitpicking.
no. You were nitpicking. You just fucking walked back. So you were literally backpedaling right there so fast. But it's
What are you
cool.
talking about?
It's cool.
I mean, you
We're
must have
seeing
smoked
two different things right now.
6
apparently.
grams tonight because you are not. You're clearly not listening to
Pisco,
what I'm
you
saying.
can make fun of me all you want, motherfucker. But seriously, you're lost in the sauce, in the capitalist sauce, my dude.
Okay.
Like,
We'll let the
like,
chatters
okay,
and
here,
the
let me
observers
explain it
determine
to you.
that.
Let me explain it to you. So right now, what's currently happening is that in like my city, for instance, because I'm just going to continue to use as an example, San Francisco, there's places that were used to be like working class businesses. And so over a long time, those places have shifted into more tech startups. This is what's raised the housing prices, that there's a lot of people left behind. Those are the people we're talking about. And this is a lot of people. I'm not
Are you just repeating
saying
gentrification? You're just explaining gentrification.
yeah,
over
well, I'm
again?
trying to
What are you
bring it
doing right
back
now?
to the
What are you
actual
saying?
fucking argument, which
You're
is
just-
something
you're
that you
just
were
repeating
completely lost
your
on.
vision of gentrification
So-
from San Francisco that like no one cares about right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Pisco, I get it. You're upset.
Yeah.
I get it. I called you a motherfucker and you're upset about it. But like,
You're saying nonsense.
come
Right?
on.
You're just.
I'm saying
speaking.
nonsense. I'm saying
Captain.
more than you. Like,
Captain,
what are you
is Captain.
talking about?
Captain, so you're telling me that you would be okay with the say these moderate businesses, these sort of like, you know, these family-owned businesses, as you put it, not reaping the rewards for selling the land to these like at a higher price to these corporate entities? You would take that away from
question. So thank you for the question, actually, leader. But the question is framed poorly because that's not what the issue is. The issue is not tech startups are not having a hard time coming into the city and buying fucking property and then turning that property into like. What are you talking about? You're literally you are addressing a non-issue. That's what I'm trying to say.
You a question.
It's a non-issue.
An actual
it's
issue.
a non-issue because they sold the land, made profit, and you know people have sort of profited from the land. It is. That's why it's a non-issue.
I literally explained at the beginning that my parents are both beneficiaries of higher land
no one
prices.
Gives a shit.
Well,
no,
seriously, go fuck yourself, you fucking lawyer prick. Like seriously,
I don't care about what your personal
like. What the fuck, dude?
Fuck whether you're a landowner.
I get it. You're fucking.
I
get it. You're fucking. These are problems that are so disconnected. Whatever.
Can I listen? Okay, but can I ask you a question, Captain? So are you? So under your system, right? You would take away the benefits of selling these people being able to sell their land at a higher price to these corporations, as you put. You say these people have moved out, they've sold their land. Would you take away their profits and you sort of like their hard-earned the work they put in at the start of this, so that those tech companies would have never moved in? Would you do that?
San Francisco, and I grew up in this place, and what gentrification is San Francisco. The businesses come in, and then the Starbucks
so what I said,
oh my God, you guys
would
finish.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I get that you can't allow
come on, we gotta
people
let Pisco finish. I want to move on.
And so when gentrification happens, that's when it happens. And so I've seen it in San Francisco. Does that answer your question?
Wow, bravo, Pisco. I hope you feel
you
good
did
about that.
again. All right,
Yeah.
Pisco, you broke this man again. All right,
amazing.
So, oh no, are you still there? I thought you were frozen, leader. Okay. I thought you were your face wasn't moving. I thought you were frozen again. Okay, never mind.
I'm on a hot spot. I'm doing my best. I'm sorry, my internet decided to die.
So again, just to answer leader, because I actually did hear him. I don't know if you heard him, but he asked, should we like kick people out essentially for having profited from what the market gives them?
No. Would you take away the opportunities?
No, absolutely not.
So
that's never what I suggested. Which is why I said that your guys' questions are so badly
well, what do you suggest,
worded,
Mr. Jones?
Oh my God! So I already said it, but I'll say it again. So when properties go on sale, like an apartment complex, for instance, or whatever the fuck it is, a fucking property, right? The city can come in and buy it up, and then with the help of people who build fucking buildings, they can make this into either public housing or low income housing or whatever the fuck, again, targeted rent control. I'm not a big fan of like wide sweeping rent controls. I think targeted is the way to go, but this allows for the free market to continue to operate pretty normally. Because again, I'm actually a pretty big market person. I don't know if you guys know this about me. Like, I trade stocks, I trade currency. Like, for fuck's sake, I'm actually pro-capitalist as well. But you guys are sitting here acting like, anything that somebody throws out, and by you guys, I mean Pisco and counterpoints, and I guess maybe Leader, although frankly we haven't been able to hear a lot what he's been able to say. So
Oh wow.
I'm just stating
John,
facts. Okay, you've been frozen.
You want the city of New York to buy like billions of dollars worth of property.
Wait,
That's
hold
your
on.
solution.
Well, that's
And they haven't spent billions of dollars on anything else. You're right. I know.
Okay, so the way
What a
that's
weird
kind of what I'm
notion.
going to get to. So you assume that they should purchase this property. Do you mean that?
Yes, all at once
Wait,
too, not
no,
one at a
that's
time
not-
or
that's
as
not what
they
I'm
come
saying.
onto the
No,
market.
I know you're
Yes.
not saying that. Okay, so
Okay,
as a property comes, let's say it's a house.
I'm gonna give the
comes on-
frog more benefit of the doubt.
Comes onto the market, right? Does the city just come in and make an offer, or and what if the person gets a better offer from someone else, and they probably will, right? What do they not get to consider that offer, or do they need to take the city's offer? Like how are you suggesting this works?
That's a great question. We could definitely debate that if you want. I mean, I'm
No,
not
we don't
sitting.
need
I
to
didn't
debate
come
it.
in
I'm
here
just
with a
asking you what
fucking
your idea
policy
is.
in mind. I'm literally spitting off
Yeah,
the
like
top
who
of the
cares
head right
about
here.
where you're gonna get money to like do all this stuff? Or,
Oh
like,
my god, it
Yeah,
might
this
be.
is-
It
wait,
might
hold
be
on,
from
it's
the
all
tax
just numbers,
revenue.
bro.
Holy shit, where we get the
Wait,
money
no,
from
stop.
everywhere else?
We have a
Pisco?
lot of money.
My
No,
we have
God,
a lot
you are
of money.
taking the piss
Okay,
tonight,
stop,
bro.
stop.
Taking the complete piss.
No, wait, no, we don't need to debate this. I'm just trying to understand what your idea is. So property comes onto the market, the city makes an offer, and then what? Does a person need to accept the offer? Does the city just get to purchase it, outright, or
No, they
does
should
it
outbid
does
the-
the
they
does
should
a,
outbid
does a
the market.
seller does a seller? Okay, so they need to outbid the investors that are coming in. And what if
Which
they
will
can't? What
raise,
if they're
which will raise property rates. Yeah, for sure.
and force renters out
And force renters out
and force people
and
out because the lease is
continue
good.
the same. Okay, but when you're talking
And
about
make
renters,
gentrification worse.
again, this is why you do it one building at a time, so it doesn't do that. Wow, but that's what I already said, Pisco, and you just can't listen tonight. It's
okay,
it's,
but
it's
I mean,
actually
it's
illegal.
very.
I'm not talking about buying up billions of fucking dollars of property all at once. Nobody fucking said that.
But I
If
think
you're
but I think it's
listening,
very.
I'm saying as it comes. Okay, as it comes onto the market, what that means is as properties are being sold by the people who own them, right? That when they're sold, because they're not all sold at once, right? So as they come onto the market, you're able
City
to
makes an
put
offer,
bids on them. Yeah, exactly.
and then what?
And then other people like private investors come in and put offers as
Okay,
well.
so it
And
seems
then if
very
the
likely
city
to me.
wants to outbid the private investors, they could do it. If they don't, if they
Okay.
think maybe that the building is worth this amount to be able to house this many people at this fucking rate, I'm a stoner. All right. But so far, I feel like I'm taking a fucking
I'm not
dunk on the
asking you to-
Pisco lawyer over here.
I'm not asking you to have like every like thing laid out, right? I'm just trying to understand what your idea is. So the city makes an offer. The buyer considers it. I'm sorry, the seller considers it amongst all the other offers, and in the very likely circumstance that there's a private investor who wants to purchase the property for a Jamba Juice or something, right?
Sure.
That person wins the bidding war.
Sure.
The property goes to a private investor anyway, and you're stuck with. We're in the same position, right? There's like
Sure, but we're
gentrification.
at least closer to where we want to be rather than fucking sitting on our hands and knees and doing nothing. I mean, again, it's just one idea out of many that you need to be implementing in order to address the problem. This is not the only idea. This is just one that we're now laser focused on.
So, Captain,
Yes.
so you mentioned that you're interested to the government buying housing and sort of like putting
The
it up for
state.
low-
It would be the city, but yes, sure.
Would you under sort of this program, would you have it so that only local residents or people who were like, I don't know, had some sort of historical claim to the land? I don't know, like historical claim, like people who like have parents
I don't know what
lived
you
there
mean
for a
either,
long
so-
time.
Okay.
People
sure.
who have lived there for a long time could like buy into the particular, could like take in part of this low income rent housing. Would you sort of like put something in there to sort of make sure that only local residents could buy in for it, or would this just be like low income housing for everyone?
It definitely would not be low income housing for everyone. Again, we're talking about single properties at a time. We're talking about very targeted actions, and we're talking about multiple different solutions, not just this one, to address the issue. Of course, we're not going to go around and buy up all of the properties in a city to then. Well, it seems like you were kind of taking it to the extreme there, so I'm just trying to reel it back in.
Okay, we're gonna have to move on from here.
Please.
Oh man. There's clearly a lot more that can be said here, and there's some people who
I could say a lot more.
there's some people who want to jump into the open panel and discuss more of this. But okay, but let's see if the next topic doesn't distract them from that. All right. So, topic 2. Oh, before we do that, follow the channel if you haven't done so already. If you're just arriving here, hit that follow button, make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. I do this 6 nights a week. Don't want you to miss out on all the content that we have here, and we have a lot of it, right? So hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on. Xbox social and chat. Follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter. For updates, follow us on Discord, right? Jump to our Discord and be a part of this community. All our conversations happen in Discord, so I want you to be there. Offline and online conversations happen there. Be a part of the community. Jump to our Discord. And also YouTube, that's where you'll find the VODs. You won't find them here, you'll find them there. So subscribe to our YouTube and like and comment. Help us grow that platform so we can keep this whole thing sustainable. All right. Moving on to the next topic. Hooray. The left has pushed for alternatives to the current policing model. One such idea is violence interrupters. These are people with a history with gangs or violence who act as mediators who can de-escalate interpersonal conflicts before they turn violent. However, the evidence for this program works. That this program works is exceedingly weak. Excuse me. Do leftists have any alternatives that have proven to work? If not, should that be held against them, since they are asking for a revolution from the status quo? Would their efforts be better spent reforming the justice system as a whole rather than this hyperfixation on policing? Okay, yeah. So we had another article, another really interesting article. So I'll put this in chat for you guys as well. And okay, so that's that article talking about this particular leftist thing, violence interrupters, and how they there are alternative. People are excited about. Apparently Joe Biden has talked about them. I vaguely remember that happening, and saying that this is a way that we could actually make progress in decreasing crime, and especially some of our hardest hit areas. However, this article tries to make the case that the evidence for that is actually exceedingly weak. And sometimes I hear this when it comes to leftist alternatives, right, to the current policing model, that the evidence on hand that we have for these things doesn't match the claim, the hype, as to what is offered. And so I'm wondering, are we missing anything here? Is there something else that leftists are offering that is a stronger case? Or should that even matter at all? Because remember, we're talking about a revolution, so maybe you don't get to have all the evidence for something new, but you have to try something new because the thing that's old is simply not working. All right, Captain A. Jones, introductions.
Introductions. What do I think? I mean, I'm usually 100% ACAB, but then I always fucking walk that statement back and say, actually, I don't say that in real life when I'm arguing these issues, because that's actually usually a really divisive term that just usually polarizes the argument, and then you can't get past that. So like maybe it's actually not a great term, but at the same time, chat, we're 100% ACAB tonight. So yeah, and with that, I'll pass it on to Pisco, and plus Pisco, I'm gonna go into this one with a new mindset about you. All right. I like you again.
Likewise.
We're back to square one. All right. I just want to let you know I'm sorry for anything I said. Kind of. I mean, you get it. We're on a debate panel, for fuck's sake. Come on.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
it.
No hard feelings here. Is it my turn, Prime?
Yeah, indeed it is.
I think leftists do have a better solution than this, and that is massive decriminalization. I think that we are the largest incarceral state in the world, at least among developed countries, and maybe even ever. And I think that is probably because we criminalize so much conduct in this country. To say nothing of the drug war and mandatory minimums, I think that sentencing in general in this country is just way too gross. Prosecutors have way too much leverage in this country, and too many people are in jail. And I think that a lot of the issues related to crime stem somewhat from that, to our drug policy, because of our sentencing policy and the breaking up of homes and of families through draconian criminalization. And so I think that's a better solution to reduce crime than the kind of violence intervener thing that you were shown in that article. Frankly, I don't think there's like a one paragraph solution or one small policy sort of experiment that's going to solve this problem for us. And this kind of stuff, in my opinion, is window dressing. You're still going to need police to solve crimes, regardless of whether or not you have people in the community who are dedicated to restorative justice or preventative care. There still needs to be the arm of the state being felt in communities. And we should soften that arm, and we should take care not to let that arm become abusive. But this kind of stuff, I don't think is going to solve the crime problem.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to counterpoints. Oh, and I'll just say something about what that article was saying. You should read it. It's actually really interesting. It's specifically talking about decreasing violence, like not necessarily being this violence interrupters being a replacement for police, just to be very clear. Counterpoints.
I bullet pointed all of my arguments. Can I address like the previous topic in my intro?
Sure.
Objection, actually, Your Honor.
No. Okay, so I'm going to anyway since you didn't say no immediately. So basically, how do we solve gentrification? So reutilize abandoned or ineffectively used property both through community eminent domain and developer partnerships. Build high density mixed zoning walkable housing that has specific requirements for living amenities like daycare, education, pet care, communal recreational activities, green spaces, and enough commercial space that walk-in businesses can do well. Require targeted rent control to make sure a city has enough workers to support less prestigious employment like retail, restaurant. Promote property ownership like condos and housing compacts in order to make sure that people can get access into intergenerational wealth. Not everybody has to live in the box, but we should take a multivariant approach to housing in order to increase the supply of housing. That way we can have less pricing and more people have access to good quality homes. In reference to this subject, I also bullet pointed, so we're going to segment it. So the only thing of defund the police that I think is legitimate is basically the argument that police do too much and they're jack of all trades, master of none. Basically meaning that there are a whole bunch of roles that law enforcement take on that they don't need to, and we should address those. I think field social workers is a good first step. I think school truancy officers is a good first step. When a high schooler doesn't want to go to high school, a person in body armor with a pistol on their hip should not show up to force them to go to school. That should be a school administrator in conjunction with a parent handling that. I also think that we could, as Pisco said, we could approach the drug board differently, legalize weed, decriminalize hard drugs, still continue to prosecute traffickers and address the material conditions. I think community interrupters and other communal programs are good or potentially good, but basically field social workers and school truancy officers would be my first step. Yield.
Okay, Nathan.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much in agreement with a lot that was just said. I think the way I'm not sold on a lot of the police alternatives. I'm not against it either. I do want to see less funding for, fucking heavy equipment towards police. But that doesn't mean I necessarily want to see like paychecks cut or anything like that. They deserve to be paid well, in my opinion, too. But the real question is how we are going to just deal with crime in this country. I looked up the numbers. One out of 5 people locked up in U.S. prisons are there because of drug offenses. We need to end the war on drugs. I think I'll be mostly in agreement there. And I think that will have significant change. And I think I apologize if this sounds like my default answer to almost everything, but I guess it really is the answer to almost everything. One of the best ways to deal with this issue is expanding opportunity, just like with fucking housing. If people have opportunity, if people have money in their pockets, they're not going to have any to commit crime, which then, will decrease prison sentences, will decrease violence in general. So, stronger social safety net, Medicare for all, college for all, end the drug war, all that good stuff. That's what I want to see happen.
Okay. All right, let's go to Fnatic.
Also, I got a piece.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Thank you for
really
that.
crazy to me because I feel like the vast majority of the I think the vast majority of I think the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act is an incredible bill that addresses significant amounts of issues with this. It's crazy to me when we have like really common sense, amazing reform like in our freaking faces. We have the majority in the Senate and the House, And instead of us actually addressing it with things like that, we start going into these like whimsical, ridiculous ideas like Crime Stoppers or whatever. Like it just sounds really insane to me. I don't know. It just seems like more like it seems like an intentional, like moving to something else, like an intentional digression in order to not address the thing that's right in front of us, the bill that I think will really pass. I think Prime Blocker sounds ridiculous. It doesn't surprise me.
It's violence interrupters to be fair.
Huh?
It's violence interrupters to be.
Oh, violence interrupters. Excuse me. Yeah, I think it doesn't. It's not surprising to me that this would be the case when they're like, oh yeah, this guy had a historic experience with violence. He was an ex gang member. Let's go have him interrupt this gang. Like it's like that just sounds like on its face completely ridiculous. But you know what doesn't sound ridiculous? The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. That's something we should all be able to get behind. I don't know why that's not the conversation.
Okay. Rackist.
Well, basically, screw you, Connor. You stole all my talking points. So the only thing I'll say is I agree with Connor completely on this. I agree with Fanatic on the having policies, having city policies where you have the interrupters alone is not going to do any good. I absolutely agree with Fanatic on that. And for me, from what I could research, POP and I don't know if I'm saying that right, Counter. POP and hotspots seems in conjunction with it, with everything else that Connor was saying, and maybe the interrupters too, because you can have them based on the society, they can based on the neighborhood a little bit. That those schemes seem to work the best for everyone and to make everybody help everybody out. So that's what I'd be for.
Leader.
I entirely agree with Fanatic in terms of like Crime Stoppers is like I think that Crime Stoppers are not a. I think Crime Stoppers sound pretty ridiculous on their face. As for like police in general, I think that police should have a greater sort of emphasis on training, and prison should be more interested in rehabilitation than locking people up. Also, like on the drug offenses and stuff, I believe that a lot of like the weed laws should be the law should be put so it's across all states rather than just having individual states like decriminalizing individual drugs. And so, that's my position on that.
Okay, 2B.
I think I agree with Pisco on this. Actually, I think that things like Crime Stoppers or Violence Stoppers or whatever the fuck they're called, I think these are like good programs for a community to have that just want like like a neighborhood watch sort of thing. People walking around and making sure nobody's getting into fights and that sort of shit. Nobody's spray painting on buildings. But they don't really seem like an alternative to police. They seem supplemental at best, right? And in a way that they might like prevent situations from like escalating towards something violent. But I think that if we're looking at actually dealing with a lot of these issues that people are talking about when it comes to policing, the best thing would probably be to like decriminalize a lot of nonviolent crimes that are currently considered, legal offenses that would get the police involved and have people sent to jail, right? I think that's a good solution. I do think that the George Floyd Act that Fanatic brought up, I think that's a really good idea. I agree with a lot of the things in there. But I also agree with Connor that I think too often police are wearing too many hats, right? So I think that that there are a lot of ways to tackle this issue. I don't think that looking at any one of these things as an alternative.
We're still in the thing.
I don't think looking at any one of these things as an alternative to policing is a good way to like approach this. They should be things that are supplemental, that I'll take the load off some of the police and maybe shift some of that toward the community and allow the community to like heal itself.
Okay. All right, we'll start with Rackist. For the open.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's real quick. Oh, Captain or me?
No. So I'm pointing at Rackist. So Rackist, you're first, and I'm letting Counter know by pointing at him that he's gonna be next, and then Captain A. Jones, I think you went next right here.
I just like to get everybody's thoughts on something I heard about, which is in New York. It was experimental a couple years ago. It might have actually been intoned. Last I knew, it lost funding, but apparently they had really, really good results. And that was a drug court. It was a very specific type of court for drug addicts, where you went to it, and if you failed, the whole point wasn't you failed, you went to prison. It was you could fail 4 or 5 times. They had counselors, they had mental health people, they had medical, people trying to help you get through and off the drugs, and just didn't know if anybody else had heard of that. So
it shouldn't even be a civil sanction. It shouldn't be anything to involve the state necessarily, unless someone wishes to involve the state to consume marijuana, let alone meth. In my opinion, it is ridiculous that we are using the incarceral state and police to address these crimes, most of which have no victim. And so I think that we should just do away with the notion that cops ought to be involved in.
Well, the only victim is
what about trafficking, Pisco?
I was about to say
trafficking. Importing should be legal. It should be legal to import.
Is not the addict themselves a victim of the drug, though? And it destroys their life.
So what? Usually we... Are you suggesting that we put people in prison for having a vice? Or that we involve the state?
I'm saying having no state involvement for an addict who's out of control, destroying themselves and their lives.
People do it with cigarettes and people do it with alcohol.
Yeah, but they also can go get help.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm in favor of
that. And I'm sorry, but cigarettes is just the worst fucking argument you could ever bring up. Alcohol, maybe you have a point, but cigarettes is absolutely the worst.
Why is it bad?
It's the
worst.
I don't think about even
why is cigarettes a bad example?
I'm not going into a delicatessen store sticking them up for a pack of smokes. Okay, I smoke.
Well, I'm sorry. That's actually just
you talked about
rob liquor stores all the time.
But I could do that on heroin. I could do that on crack.
First of all, you were talking about the harm to the individual person who's the consumer, and so that's what you said. That and
how does that not harm them? How does breaking the law not harm them?
Cigarettes harms an individual who's consuming it. You said,
right,
what about the person consuming
more extremes, Fisco, when you get into the harder drugs, not pot and not smoking.
Do you believe that cigarettes should be illegal in the United States to purchase? No. Okay. So how about meth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why? I mean, no one should be having.
But they're both extremely destructive.
Fucking childish.
Oh my god.
I'm a fucking
kidding
loser.
me with this shit, dude. There's no comparison. You are comparing a BB gun to a bomb. Are you nuts, Captain?
There is a comparison actually, because more people consume alcohol, more people consume cigarettes.
Yeah, because it's legal. What do you think?
And cigarettes cause way
You're gonna start dying in droves of meth, and then you're gonna be like, oh wait, they're all dying of meth. I guess it's worse. Now is it worse?
They're already dying of heroin.
In reality,
turn on
how
the
many
TV.
bodies do you need to stack up, Pisco? In reality, to get there once you
turn on the
legalize.
TV.
Let me know. Let me know what the body count is, Pisco.
How many bodies?
Okay, Pisco. Let him know your preferred body count, and then we're gonna move on. So
turn on the TV. People are dying from over. I believe today that we're suspected that the actor
people die of cheeseburgers, Pisco.
What are you going to do?
Pisco?
Are you going to involve the state?
Pisco. Oh my God! Yeah,
you're going to get someone to go.
Your comparisons are dumb at best.
They're not dumb. Can I address that?
No, you're not. You're not. Your comparison is.
No.
He knows that.
The comparisons are they're not dumb. The comparisons
are
not
dumb.
They're
very dumb.
Okay, stop. Seriously, stop now. I want Pisco to be able to actually answer you. All right, go ahead.
He doesn't want to. So both being obese, eating a lot of burgers represents a huge social cost to society. Thousands of people die every day, really, or at least every year, right? Maybe even millions related to obesity-related illnesses. People, I think cigarettes is either the first or second leading cause of preventable death in this country. These are huge costs to society, not just the people consuming them, the people who are related to these people. Obviously, like the places they work for, society as a whole is losing out. But we would never think, would we, in those cases, to involve the state and say you have to come to a hearing to make sure that you're following through on your diet.
So your answer, Pisco, is to make those things legal so we have more deaths, Pisco.
No,
that's what you're asking for.
No, that's
the same drugs kill people.
Saying.
Yes,
is that what I'm saying?
That's
exactly anyone think that I'm saying that?
Yes.
That I want
where you end up.
Actually, ironically, there's evidence that decriminalizing or legalizing lowers the rate of addiction or use.
Legalizing and criminalizing is not the same thing.
I know. That's why I said or. That's why there is an or between those two words.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Whoa, that's crazy, dude. Like,
Yeah,
wait, what are you saying? You're
can I ask
like,
a question? Wait, really quickly. So,
hold on. Counterpoints. Is it fine that he asked this question? Because it's your turn.
Yeah, Doobie never throws fucking grenades and fucking starts shit. So I think we'll be fine.
We're in
He's
safe
a very
hands.
safe character.
We're in
yeah,
safe
so
hands.
Doobie, go ahead, please.
this is not an inflammatory question. Okay, I think. So I think the point that Pisco is making, Pisco, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the way that I'm hearing it, is that people do things that are detrimental to their health all over the country, and what they eat, what they drink, what they do with their free time. But in all those other cases, yeah, our solution isn't, hey, you need to go to fucking hamburger court and justify your food intake. Right. So why should we? So if given that we're people who care about individualism and free will and personal autonomy,
because meth is so much worse, Frog.
So
because Frog,
given that we're people that care,
Constitution,
stop.
the Constitution
is
not a suicide pact.
Hold on.
Not a suicide pact.
Well, ironically,
is that not a meme? Oh man!
The only way you can get around this argument is by launching extremes crap. That's the only way you get around this.
Arrakis, given that the Constitution allows people to own weapons, and you can see that most of the gun deaths in this country, are suicide. The Constitution is kind of a suicide pact. Let's be real.
No, it's not.
Secondly, no, I'm fucking.
Nice play on words, but only the dumb would believe that.
That was great.
That's really outside of what
I'm trying to be nice to you because you're new, okay? But all I think Pisco is saying, and actually, I've had a massive shift myself on this recently. Right, I've been reevaluating a lot of my positions recently, and I think that I agree that given that the American dream is about people making their own decisions about their lives and all this kind of shit, right? This is the America that all those strive for. Given that we're not pulling people into court for drinking fucking 10 Mountain Dews a day, why should we pull them into court for meth? Now we can make services available to them, right? So if they want to get help, if they want to lose weight, if they want to get off the heroin,
arguing for.
Right?
That's what I'm arguing for.
No, you're not. You're arguing for drug courts.
No,
you're arguing for having the state involved at the enforcement level, and I don't think that's what Pisco and I were talking about.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
That's the difference. That's the difference between us, because you guys are saying legalize it. Oh, by the way, we have all this shit. So follow the logic here, you guys, because this is easy. We have all this shit that can kill people. That's drugs. We have all this stuff that can kill people. That isn't drugs. Hey, everybody, I got a brilliant idea. 10 head. Let's make all the stuff that is rampantly.
Well, you're silly because you're saying it's silly.
Pisco, stop. Let's make all the stuff rampantly worse at killing people legal. That's what I'm saying, Pisco. How are you not adding to the body count?
You're just not thinking about this. Part of the problem related with drug overdoses is not knowing what you're injecting into your body with fentanyl lacing and things, people not knowing what their tolerance is because of the presence of other substances.
It's
and so
absolutely
having the government.
So we have to abolish self-control. We can't give personal license to these people. They have no control over themselves. We take that all away and we say, no, it's because you don't know what you're injecting. Not that the person is injecting poison.
I'm describing a reality to you.
That's
describing a reality to you.
So, dude, I'm describing reality. You're going off on some like Pegasus Adventureland.
Because people are overdosing on substances.
No. We got to get to counterpoints. Counterpoints has been waiting very patiently. We're gonna go to counterpoints. We'll go to leader, and then move on.
Love you, Pisco.
I mean, you're not listening. It's really frustrating.
No, I am listening.
Counterpoints.
Oh, beautiful. It's my turn. Okay, so we are talking about alternatives to policing. So if y'all want to go down the drug war route, we can do this. Pisco and I have done this, and it made me want to fucking eat glass covered in fucking hot sauce. So we do involve the state when it comes to alcohol and tobacco. We heavily regulate these products. We control their access. We control the cartels. We do all sorts of stuff when it comes to it. And we tax the fuck out of them and we redistribute them back into sobriety programs. We don't say, hey, Americans, it's actually good for you to we actually have anti-alcohol and anti-tobacco campaigns all the time. So if you want to talk about decriminalization, I think that's a potential conversation we could have. If you're talking about legalization, I don't know where the fuck this like ANCAP bullshit comes from, but I don't think it applies to virtually any other fucking product on the planet. Whether we're talking about like vehicles, guns, anything like that. There's just no comparison to this fucking perspective. And this is something that I'm going to assert repeatedly.
is we're not just worried about the individual addict. We're worried about the communitarian impact. When you have a society of addicts, or you have families that have members who are addicts, it affects the entire family. It affects the entire community. If we lose people who are breadwinners, if we lose mothers, if we lose dads, if we lose kids, this isn't some like, arbitrary fucking thing like, oh, just do whatever you want and then, we'll let the addicts burn themselves out. As a matter of fact,
making it arbitrary.
like,
You're making it
I'm
arbitrary.
not making it arbitrary at all. I think you need to
that.
Google. I think you need to Google the fucking term arbitrary to see whether or not it's fucking
You're
arbitrary.
stopping at drugs that you think are some level of lethality. Everything you're talking about related to the externalities and alcohol and tobacco use and food consumption, that's all present there. And so you're making no distinction between those substances and the ones that you want to use police force and courts and the state incarceral state to solve, which hasn't been able to solve.
Did I not just say literally 30 fucking seconds ago, decriminalize and continue to prosecute traffickers? I'm pretty sure I fucking said that shit.
Tobacco's not decriminalized, it's legal.
Yeah, no
Abortion's
shit.
not decriminalized, it's legal.
I don't understand.
Okay, so hold on.
too.
I'll try to explain this because I this is literally like it's somebody using algebra when this is a fucking did you wait, what was it? Hold on, I'll look up the joke before I do it. So basically I agree with fucking Rakist completely that drugs are on a spectrum and they have different effects on the body. I don't think any like biologist or addiction counselor would disagree with this. Alcohol and tobacco have effects on the body that we've deemed like basically communitarianly acceptable for adults. That's part of the reason why I think weed should be legal, not decriminalized, because I think it has a similar net negative, net positive effect as far as like alcohol and tobacco. Whereas methamphetamine, heroin, and cocaine, I would not put in the same category. So it's not arbitrary. It literally has to do with the effects on individuals and the effects on communities.
I can't believe you just lopped fucking cocaine in with heroin like that. That's really fucked up, dude.
Well, you know what? To be fair, maybe I have a baby's perspective on cocaine. I don't.
Have you never done cocaine before? Seriously?
I haven't done.
Wow,
cocaine.
chat. Never do cocaine. I'm not promoting anything.
You're downplaying the amount of people who die because of tobacco use and alcohol. It's
okay. Do you want me to explain this, or do you just want me?
How many people are dying of coke overdoses?
Okay.
And shit? How many people
What
are
losing
their jobs because they have a coke addiction? I've had a coke addiction. I can tell you what, like, it didn't ruin my fucking life.
Okay, I knew a 19-year-old
19-year-old
girl who had a fucking aortic fucking rupture because she was fucking doing so much goddamn cocaine. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Like, and then when it comes to alcohol and tobacco, you're absolutely right as far as like raw numbers. But when are these people dying? They're dying in their fucking 50s and 60s. They're not dying in their fucking 20s and 30s.
Anecdote, Andy. I've had plenty of fucking relatives die from alcohol and tobacco use. Like,
and how old were they?
Jesus
how
Lord.
old were they? Answer that
They were
question.
pretty
How old were
fucking
they?
young. Not much older than I am now. That's scary. Holy fuck.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's try leader.
I mean, so I agree with most of Counterpoint's points. I think that he's pretty on the mark in terms of like is a citation about how sort of like tobacco and drugs work within like society itself. Like tobacco and alcohol, they cause like a general degree of harm on the community, but it's not really on the same level as if someone goes and takes a heroin or ice. You take one hit, you can get addicted and just not be able to get rid of it, and for the rest of your life your brain craves that particular drug. It changes the way you think about it, changes the way you perceive the world around you, the way you interact with people, and to sort of like introduce these things to our communities is, I don't know, I think that'd be an incredible.
They're already
sort of
introduced. I mean, what are you talking about? They're already there. They're already killing people. Look around
you. Hold on. What about cigarettes? Holy shit! The first time I smoked a cigarette was
cigarettes and ice are not the same thing, and you can't.
Oh my
put
god!
them
Could
on
you
the
just
same
fucking
level.
listen for a second, leader? I get
People
it.
doing
You're
heroin in the
Australian.
subways. Like
You're making the comparison.
Okay, I wasn't done speaking though. See, there's more that goes to a sentence instead of just half of it. All right. So there's also another addictive substance, and it's currently legal, and it's called nicotine. And when I smoked a cigarette for the first time, I never looked back. Oh my god, I've been doing nicotine ever since. Like, so, but you're in favor of that, but you're not. But you're so hard on everything else.
The most
The things you
famous
don't like. The things you don't like. It's just weird because it seems like all those are like things that Europeans are usually historically have been okay with. Those are their drugs of choices. But then
just because the Europeans like or dislike
dang,
something
maybe
isn't
the
an
drugs of
argument
choices
for or
of all
against.
these other people,
we
that's
don't
not
you
very
don't need to
good.
make it like racial.
We don't
No,
need
no,
to, but I was just throwing that out there.
It
Hey,
is
look, I'm just
interesting.
jacking
We'll
off
say
right now.
that.
I'm just asking questions.
Okay, it is interesting. I understand where you're coming from, but I think that
It is
like
interesting.
I think the argument you guys are making is a little strange, right? You said that we've societally decided that that these poisons are okay, and they can be legal and sold at the supermarket, and they're going to be multi-billion-dollar legitimate companies that have these things that have run Super Bowl ads. But these other poisons, oh god, those are really bad. Even though people get addicted and die to these poisons that are totally legal, those poisons, if someone sells those things, they need to be in a cage for 30 years, right? It just seems very strange, right?
Okay,
When again, there's
Can I respond to that?
you may in a second.
Let me
You may in a second. I'm not aware of any evidence that decriminalizing or legalizing these things leads to more people becoming addicted, right? And getting into that situation where they're ruining their lives, ruining their family's lives. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think more of these people end up seeking treatment, right? Because there's no stigma, right? And they don't need to worry about being put in a cage or their dealer getting put in a cage, right? So it just seems really weird. It just seems like you're appealing to tradition, ironically here. And say, traditionally these poisons are good, and these new poisons these are bad, so we can't even consider them.
All right. So, I mean, I guess if I had to like break my argument down some more, if I had 100 people that were smoking it and 100 people that were addicted to heroin, and we sort of like break down the negative effects of both. So, one, for instance, one would have in their 60s, perhaps they could get some form of cancer, be it lung. Their teeth would rot, their fingers, it was possible they'd have heart complications, a whole bunch of negative stuff. And that would, you'd expect the effects to sort of roll in 10 to 20 years down the line. Whereas if someone on heroin, ice, you'd see the effects more immediate. If they didn't get their hit, they'd be liable to go down the store and rob someone.
That's ridiculous. Leader, this is a crazy argument.
Is ridiculous?
I'll explain.
This is the point.
Oh, wait, no. Can I explain why it's ridiculous? So suppose you have 100 people who snort lava and 100 people who smoke cigarettes. The people who snort lava are going to all die. But of course, you would consider how many people are smoking cigarettes when you're taking into consideration like the societal cost. You don't just look to the deadly punctuated effects of one particular drug. You see the incidence of the drug. How many people are ingesting it? You don't just look at the in isolation. Just like that's why we would think COVID is a bigger problem.
Almost
than,
as if
Ebola.
One is legal and one
flu.
is not. And if you start comparing numbers on similar levels, then the negative effects of one start.
Oh my God! Yes, when you start comparing problems that are just like in scope, miles apart in scope. Holy fuck!
But
less
Pisco,
than a percentage of the population. Hold on. Less than a percentage of the population does heroin. And I'm still looking up how many people smoke cigarettes. Give me a second.
But later, you're speaking as if we see the consequences of alcohol in alcoholism in like the 60s or 70s or some shit. Plenty of people get into car accidents drunk and they die and they kill people.
I said like 10
become addicted
years.
to alcohol. No, not even 10 years. Plenty of college students get addicted to alcohol. They fuck up their schooling. They fuck up their lives.
Overdose on alcohol.
Yeah,
exactly.
Is still
right. So
not
saying, oh God,
comparable.
you're going to see that in 6 years. It's just bullshit.
That's still not comparable to any
yes,
of the other
it is.
hard drugs.
You can have a really long night drinking and walk off a fucking bridge, right? You're going to see that impact immediately, right? You can go get into a fight that you shouldn't get into because you're drunk as fuck and fuck up your life, fuck up someone else's life. You might kill somebody, right?
I agree. People may do that. People may do that, right? But I would put that. I'd sort of say the percentage of people that would sort of be able to do that when they're probably it'd be under 1%. It'd be very low. Whereas it's sort of when you sort of start to look at like people who would do that when they're like missing a shot of the shot of like the drugs that they're addicted to, heroin, ice, any of the hard drugs, you'd start to be like, okay, well these people are very likely to go do something extreme for that next hit. These people are very likely to get serious health.
There's less of them.
Implications very
There's less of them.
There is less
of them.
and it's not legalized.
That's not why.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Leader not leading the charge on this.
Like, no, it's like half percent. Right, there actually are studies on this, right? And I think, just off the top of my head, it's like 30% of rapes that involve alcohol. Like over 60% of domestic partner violence involves alcohol. Like, and this is across the board.
I mean,
right? All these violent
I
crimes,
think you'll
are
find all those
impacted
same
by alcohol
statistics
at more than
so much
1%.
worse
Right?
on hard drugs.
No,
They're just
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
absolutely. What do you
No
think? Do you
fucking
think
way.
people are doing studies on like
Way more
you think
people drink.
People are doing
You
studies
never
on people
addressed
on
that.
heroin?
Way more people drink, and the only answer to that was, well, people drink because it's legal. Is that really your opinion after our history with prohibition? You think people drink because it's legal?
No, I'm saying that drug is like way more available to the public. It is not sort of like socially deemed down upon.
And
I don't
heroin
think
isn't.
Oh
And
man,
weed
leader.
isn't.
Come on, leader. You just trapped yourself so hard.
Admit
it, dude. It's
You
over.
indignant fucks.
It's
Dude,
over.
Prime,
Now
let
get
me
the
in.
fuck
I've
out
been
of
waiting
here.
for 10 minutes
Okay.
for these stupid
Yeah, and
assholes
Nathan
to be fucking
and Nathan
fuck shit.
and Nathan has been waiting even longer. He's been waiting patiently, unlike the rest of you motherfuckers. All right. So Nathan, please give it a try.
Yeah, you guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Just
Yes,
checking. Okay. So, first of all, it's interesting to see Doobie's take because I remember we had a discussion about drugs and he had like a completely different take before. But I mean, I welcome the change.
He said he moved.
I'm gonna give a more moderate take. Okay. So I personally am not for legalizing like cocaine. Okay. Not because but I recognize like the line is arbitrary 100%. Tobacco is extremely dangerous, alcohol is extremely dangerous, but the thing is those things are like toothpaste out of the bottle. Okay. You can't put it back in. We already tried to put it back in and it didn't work out. I would 100% advocate for decriminalizing all drug use. You shouldn't be getting in trouble because you put something in your body. You shouldn't be locked up for years because you're putting something in your body. But I don't necessarily want to put like to once again take the toothpaste out of the bottle. So like the numbers on drug overdoses for like the last 20 years were, well, from 1999 to 2019, a 20-year period. Looking at prescription opioids, heroin, and other opioids was around like 841,000. So we have a crisis, but the crisis isn't really with like cocaine and meth. It's with the opioids. And I would say that
legal, right? A lot of them legal.
Yeah, a lot of them are
legally
legal.
obtained opioids.
So I would, when it comes to like,
kind of like makes you think about this legal argument that whether or not legality is related to usage.
Dude, stop saying shit confidently. That's fucking bullshit. Shut the
Yeah.
fuck up.
Yeah, so like when it comes to like a lot of legal stuff, yeah, I think opioids are definitely one of like perhaps the biggest drug concern right now. Legal shit is perhaps my biggest drug concern, but I can't. I could look longer, but I can't really find numbers specifically on like cocaine or meth. But I assume that it's probably not that much. And if it's not that much, that must mean that it's not that prevalent of an issue. And it's not something that the people are going to demand be legalized like they wanted alcohol to be legalized after it was banned. There's just not much push for legalizing cocaine and meth. And I would rather decriminalize than legalize.
Can I just say really quickly, because you pointed out that my I guess I had a different position before, and I want to make it clear that I have moved a lot on not on just on this position, but on other positions. But I want to make it very clear that it has nothing to do with your arguments or the arguments that any of you have made. They're all really bad.
Yeah.
I'm the sort of the person who debates my own ideas in my brain all the time, right? And I've just found that there are better arguments than
Okay,
those
so
that
yeah,
are
so how much of this is motivated by fucking social Darwinism, Doobie? That's my question.
social Darwinism.
Like, how much of it is like fuck these junkie motherfuckers, they'll kill themselves? How much of that? Like,
What's wrong with
you?
you?
You're not
what's wrong with me? I'm talking to Doobie. That's what's wrong with me.
Look. You shouldn't peel back the mask that far. Okay, maybe there's some of that there, and I haven't considered it.
Oh,
But-
weird! It's like I knew what I was talking about. Shut the fuck up.
No,
whoever
I'm
questioned
joking.
my
Okay,
motivation.
calm down. I love
Totally,
people.
Doobie.
I love people.
You
right?
love so many
What I'm
people,
actually curious about though.
Weird because you're not a person
Nathan,
yourself, frog.
Nathan, you said that alcohol and cigarettes are kind of like toothpaste out of the bottle, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, just hypothetically, if we were in a situation where it wasn't out of the bottle, would you be for making alcohol or cigarettes illegal?
If it was a situation like how it is with cocaine and meth right now, sure.
Oh,
Really?
What?
That's strange.
The progressive
I
and
mean, it's
liberal
consistent, but
Nathan
it's,
Galang
not
shows
on the
his
spectrum.
right-wing colors. Oh, the panel, clip that shit, chat.
Mask off.
Clip that shit. He's canceled forever. Fuck that. Get
Get
him
him,
on the
Captain.
fucking
But I
panel
will
with
say this, I'll
Aircraft
say this as
Sparky
a
on the
caveat.
same.
You have to think about.
I'll give a little caveat. I'll give a little caveat. If cocaine and meth were in a similar position
back
as
down.
cigarettes and
Run back
alcohol
down now.
right now,
What do
then
you mean
I would
similar
support,
position? They're
like
both prevalent.
Consumption, Pisco. Listen for 20
at,
seconds.
yes,
Fuck.
yes, like he said, consumption. If they were being consumed, if there was a demand, and there was like a much more significant black market, like how there was with alcohol in the 30s, then I would support legalizing meth and cocaine. But it's just not in the same position. So I would say those are two consistent points.
I don't think it's consistent
So-
at all.
Yep.
So
me
can I
neither.
ask? So like I think that maybe the one of the sticking points is just like personal autonomy, right? So Nathan, it seems like you don't really value that in the same way that Pisco or Captain Jones do, right? Because I think they would say, and I think I would say at this point, that if someone wants to do heroin, they want to do meth, they want to get drunk, right? Then that's their decision. If they want to inject these poisons themselves, they got fucking go for it.
I already
I think
addressed
I would
that's
rather
insane.
not.
I think that that's insane. I
think I left something out that's going to cause you guys to be upset. So I'm not
Should
saying
be
that these
the
people
anchor.
live in a vacuum, right? That their alcoholism and meth use and all this shit might not like impact their community, their families. It will, right? That's reality. But I think that we can allow these people to do these things up to the point where it does impact their community. And if they start getting into fights because they're drunk and beating people up, or they start robbing people because they're addicted to meth and they can't get money, then you deal with them, right? But not before, when they're just at home getting fucking high.
Okay.
Yeah,
let's
I
go.
mean,
I think
So
that
we got a lot
I
of people. Sorry, leader. We got a lot of people. So Nathan, respond. Then Rakist.
So I would say, like, of course, things aren't black and white. I obviously care about like bodily autonomy to a certain degree. Obviously, I don't want like I'm not against abortion because I think it's gross for the government to force births, for example. But on this specific issue, if alcohol and cigarettes were in a similar position of consumption as meth and cocaine, I'm not too concerned if there's like a fringe amount of the population saying it's my bodily autonomy to take whatever drug I want. I'm a utilitarian. I want less bad things, you know? So if
The
that's one
intuition
of
is the other
ways
way
to do it-
around, Nathan. I mean, if something is more prevalently used, it's a more bigger societal problem.
if it's more
that you want to
prevalently
address
used,
more.
if it's more prevalently used and we can't contain it, then there's no point in making it illegal, in my
Oh, so,
opinion.
like-
Just like with alcohol.
Just
There-
like with
there was
drugs,
no-
right? Because they're so widespread. Like the drug war has been very successful in stopping usage.
That's
Wait,
not my
Pisco,
point at
Pisco,
all.
Like,
That
Pisco,
is
you
not
can't
my
say
point
it
at
all.
They've been
all.
shit unaddressed.
prescribing.
Fuck this.
But Pisco, you can't make the argument that just because something is more prevalent that it's therefore a bigger problem. You have to look at the total impact, right? So, like, say we find out like it's more common that people cheat their taxes, right? Like, I don't know. I don't have to come up with an analogy. You can understand the idea. That it's really simple. You can't just basically say because this is more common, it's a bigger impact or it's a larger problem. You just can't.
No, so you can say so that if we think that on average tobacco use and alcohol use is harmful to an individual's health, I don't think anyone disagrees with that. Surely it must mean that widespread aggregate use of something that on average causes a problem is a bigger problem than if it were less consumed. So my analogy to you would be, suppose that 100 people smoked versus everyone in the country smoked, which is a bigger problem.
Mhm. Well, I would say I think the big point I'm trying to emphasize. I'm sorry, I'll try to be quick. The big point I'm trying to emphasize is the reason why I'm for like alcohol and cigarettes being legal, even though they have horrible results, worse than things that are currently illegal, is because when we tried to make it illegal, it didn't work. It was
That's
bad.
like when we try to make
There were
drugs
bad
illegal.
results.
It's not working.
No,
Yeah, but the drug
wait,
was
no,
not
Please
working.
pick a fucking
point
lane,
being-
dude. He can't keep saying
the
dumb
point
shit.
being-
Fuck this.
Yeah.
Yo, Pisco, pick a fucking lane. Either it's a small problem because not that many people fucking consume it, or it's a big problem because everybody fucking does it. You can't have it fucking both ways.
It's a
Like,
smaller
talking-
problem than alcohol and weed, and it's
I
not
think
working. Because
Is it not working? Because
Let's
why
be-
is it not why? No, fuck this.
The
Then
counter,
why is it
calm
not
down.
widely available?
Counter.
Why, okay, why is it
I
not
got a
widely
here.
used?
Hold on.
people don't want it.
Because people
Oh,
don't. Do
fuck
you
off.
think legality has any impact on
Fuck
people's
off.
choices?
On the margin, maybe, not significant.
On the
margin,
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 why
what the
is murder illegal? There's murder anyways. Why is drunk driving illegal? There's drunk driving anyways. Why is there fucking theft? Like get the logic of thinking that fucking illegality has no impact on people.
There are other
God,
purposes
counter,
to punishment.
Insane.
There are other
It's
purposes to
fucking
punishment with
insane.
respect to those crimes involving other people, crimes of property, crimes of life, homicide crimes. There are other reasons to punish besides lowering the use of-
And let's go. Let's try.
And
Let's
also,
try.
and all could be
let's try-
downstream.
let's try-
I need to get in here.
And all could be
There's
downstream of drugs.
Oh boy. Let's try Rackus. Rackus, go ahead, and then
I was
don't worry,
having fun just watching.
we have plenty of time for you all to tell Pisco that his ideas are shit. Don't worry, I'll make sure you do. All right, so go
It
ahead.
sounds like me and Doobie
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Captain Jones are the
Yeah,
only
sure,
ones
sure,
arguing for less police. on
Oh,
this
okay,
panel.
seriously.
Yeah.
No. I'm gonna approach this from a different way. I'm gonna approach it from a
I
different
already
way.
said
Since you and Captain and Doobie are all I can do whatever I want. It's my body, self-autonomy, fatalists to the point of insanity. Let's go another
That was
direction.
Doobie's editorial. I just want to say that
Let's
was
try
Doobie's
another
editorial.
one.
It's not
Let's
my
try-
philosophical
Oh,
underpinning here.
let's try
Just say no.
another one. Let's try another one. People want to commit suicide. People have depression. We should just let them kill themselves and not give them any meds because we're interfering with their right to kill themselves. And we can't call the cops on them because they will take them away and the state will deal with them. It's
That's
the
a
same
very-
thing.
very-
Does
very-
the
very-
state
very-
deal
very-
with
very-
everything?
Can I
I
respond?
think
That's
that's a
stupid.
reasonable point.
That's
It's
really
the
stupid.
same
because,
argument.
Because I think
Same
No,
argument.
it's not.
I
That is the
can-
same
wait, let's-
argument.
There's nothing
You are
reasonable about
intervening.
it.
You are
you think that's
yes.
the
No,
same
it
argument,
is.
you're not
It
paying
is. I
attention.
can prove it. Captain, give me 1 second. I can prove it. The thing is you are dealing with in both cases somebody who's out of control. That's why the state needs to intervene. That is why.
Practice, do you think the state should come? We should be able to call the police and your neighbors if they're like 400 pounds. You should be able to have them swept up and put.
That
in
has
fucking
nothing to do with what we're talking
This
about.
is what you're
Address
saying.
what my point was about
That is-
mental health,
that
Doobie.
works.
Address it or be quiet. One
Do you
of
think
two.
the police should come and arrest you just
Okay.
for being like a schizophrenic? You think the police
Yeah.
should arrest you for that? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to get the
Wow.
state involved,
Not
Pico.
me.
Wow.
Not me.
Pisco.
Okay, so
Pisco.
hold on,
No,
Rackus,
no.
Rackus,
Pisco, no, I'm not letting this go. Pisco,
mentally
be quiet for a
divergent.
second.
Wow.
No, be quiet for
Yeah,
a second, Pisco.
able-
If schizophrenic, do you understand what a schizophrenic is?
I think I'm seeing one right now.
Do you know what the mental illness is? Do you know what the mental illness is?
I don't know the actual
Answer the
definition.
question. Do you know what the
I don't
mental illness is?
I'm not
No,
going to
you
pretend
don't.
to know the actual
It's
definition.
when you don't have a perception of a reality anymore. You can't tell what's real, Pisco. So what,
Yeah,
we're supposed
but
to leave this
people
guy
do
out?
got a criminal
Hold on. So you're saying we need to leave this guy out in the middle of the street,
You're saying
getting
the
taken
rest of it.
advantage of by
You're
other
saying-
people, and we shouldn't get the state involved.
You know what's
because,
funny?
oh,
is
his-
nobody.
That's
Rackus,
what you're saying, Pisco.
Rackus.
But can I
Rackus,
respond to?
please,
okay,
please. No. Rackus, nobody said that. See, you're
Oh, yeah,
saying
you
that.
did.
No,
Oh, yeah,
no.
you did.
Nobody said that if there's a drunk guy in the middle of the street that we do nothing. We just said don't arrest him, my dude. Like you are, you're doing the classic counterpoints, which is no wonder. No wonder you motherfuckers are friends, okay? Because y'all motherfuckers, what you do is you go to the extreme, to the ends
No, I'm
of the
giving you
fucking
another
spectrum.
The real
on-
world
and then you
You mean the ones that
misrepresent.
happen
Hold
every
the hell
fucking
on.
day.
Wait, hold
Hold
on.
the hell on. Counterpoints. All right, I'm making a counterpoint right now. All right.
Alright.
And then you go and then you misrepresent everyone as the most extreme. When we challenge you, you then walk it right back. It's like a Martin Bailey kind of like what the fuck?
Prime, I have to talk. They're just saying crazy shit.
All
They're
right,
like
no,
20
no,
minutes
no,
at a
no.
fucking time.
I'd like to respond
Prime,
directly.
20 minutes at a
I'd like
fucking
to- I'd like to
Leader
respond directly
was
to the
next.
suicide thing.
Leader was next.
Okay, but leader's dumb. Let me just respond directly to the suicide thing.
Fuck you, cunt.
I'm a fucking loser. Dude.
I just like to respond
Where am
directly
I
to the
on the
suicide
list?
thing.
Because
That's
they're
okay.
just being
Alright,
okay,
wrong
okay.
over and over.
I mean,
It'll be after after leader. Okay, I promise you. After
Okay,
leader.
thank you.
Put me on that list, please.
May I please respond directly to the suicide thing? Because I
okay.
feel like
mean,
I didn't. Okay,
you
just-
already
Okay, just hold on.
did. You
Quickly
already
say
did.
something about the suicide thing, and then move. We gotta
Okay.
go to leader. Leader's next.
So the reason that doesn't make any sense because I think all three of us, Pisco, Jones, and I, we're saying that we make these things legal, but also have programs in place so if people are addicted or they have issues, they can go to those programs and they can get help. So we're not so the way this ties directly to the suicide thing. So someone's suicidal, they're depressed. We want there to be programs where they can go get help. Like I don't understand why this is so difficult.
And that was so painfully obvious.
That was not what Pisco said.
No more talking. No more
Pisco's
talking. No
position.
more talking. Leader, go ahead.
So I mean, my good compatriots right here, they like to go forth with an argument that has said, look, because weed's illegal, but smoking's fine and drinking's fine, then obviously everything should be allowed. And
No.
my point on this is that it's very simple. It's like they're not allowing they're not providing a good argument as to why these things should be allowed in society, other than, you know, it's people's free right. They should be allowed to do what they're responsibly do. They have no
I'll give you an argument
about the
yeah.
negative side effects on the community, on themselves, on what's going on down the street. These people have it's just you know, oh dude, they're just drugs, bro. It's, you know, you should be allowed.
No,
to do
it's not. No, if here, I'll give you what you want. If the drug war were effective, it might be a good policy. If this actually prevented usage, it might be a good
I mean,
policy.
didn't you say that? Didn't you say that like
faith.
the usage is down? Didn't you say that there's only a small minority of people that do it, and that's why
I
there's
said
massive disparities? That's
sorry.
exactly what you said.
Compared to alcohol and tobacco usage,
Yes,
the usage of
they're
highly dangerous drugs is much lower, presumably because they're
And-
highly dangerous.
Well,
Doesn't
they're
mean that
highly dangerous. So we should.
but they're also
legalize-
inelastic good. They're also inelastic goods, and so your tendency, people who are likely to consume these products aren't going to be stopped by it being illegal. The proof is in the pudding. It's illegal as hell, and lots of people are doing it and dying from it. And so
You're
what I'm
right.
saying
So we
is,
should make so
You got
so
a big
what, you're-
demand
if your
for it.
policy was effective, maybe it'd be a good idea. But it's not proven to be effective, and it has other externalities that you're not considering, which is the breaking up of families and incredible costs related to court costs, incarceration.
to use it. That is the side effect.
That's
of
to
using
society.
sex.
We're all paying for it. Sorry,
No,
we're
because
all
if they're
paying
caught with this,
for.
they're put in fucking cages for
And
years.
your
that destroys
argument
families
doesn't
too.
deal with new users. Your argument doesn't deal with like.
Wait,
bringing in
your
new users.
argument
You make
doesn't
a
deal
great
with new
argument
users
there
either. You
to
just
say
want to lock
people-
them up.
You want to lock
No,
them up?
my
You-
argument. I am trying.
Fuck these people! Holy shit!
Fuck you.
Please.
Connor, paint your fucking barbers and shut up, okay? We're talking
Yeah,
leaders.
counterpoints.
Yeah, pay your goddamn bills, all right?
Counterpoints. Tell me why.
Oh my god, dude.
on.
Okay, this is
Go on,
fucking. This is straight up fucking insane. We've
I love
all
it, Olivia.
we've already addressed half of your fucking arguments, and you're just talking past them every single time. I've already said decriminalize hard. Continue to go after
You
traffic.
don't speak for everyone on this panel, Connor. Other people still want it to be illegal.
Shut
Right.
the fuck up, dude. Like literally, like every single time somebody has like a 10-second point, you interrupt at the 10-second mark. Just shut the fuck
You
up. for a
already
minute.
misrepresented in the first sentence.
Shut the fuck up.
Counterpoints. Stay on
Whoa.
target. Stay on
All
target.
right. So, all right. Anyways, so the fucking oh my god. So the fucking point is that if you did do decriminalization, you would be eliminating the fucking incarceration, which is your super large moral
Yep.
objection. We're already fucking 80% of the way there. And then when we're talking about legalizing marijuana and then taxing it and then putting that back into the fucking state as far as like, you know, drug programs and all that kind of shit, we're also addressing your other fucking problem. What you are failing to fucking address, which is really fucking frustrating, is it's like you think that two goods are identical because they're both classified with the word drug. And that's not true. It's
Did I
so
say they were identical?
mind-bogglingly
Did I not
stupid.
point
This
out
is-
the
hold on,
differences
hold on.
between
No,
them?
no, no,
The
Pisco,
entire
shut the
time
fuck
you
up.
have been you've been equating
Dude, this
them.
is like no, leader. I appreciate you, but I don't need help right now. This is like saying belt-fed automatic weapons should just be legal, because if you look at the homicides in the United States, 99% of them are not with belt feds, and on top of that, pistols kill more than fucking belt-fed automatic weapons. This is almost par for par, a 1-for-1 argument, and it's fucking dumb as shit because the amount of damage that you can do with a fully automatic weapon is not comparable to a fucking semi-automatic pistol. But because they're both classified under the category of firearm, you're saying these things are identical, and it's numbskull fucking stupidity. Like
I'm not
seriously,
saying they're
please
identical.
stop-
You're not
hold on,
listening.
please stop. Okay, well, your fucking arguments come down to bodily autonomy when you're
No, they
you're not
don't. That was
community-
Doobie's argument.
That is what
None of you. Okay, I
mandatory
don't trust
vaccines.
Doobie. Okay, I don't trust Doobie because seriously, I think he just thinks like fucking junkies are going to kill themselves. I
And
think
you
that's
shouldn't
why he's
trust him
fucking
with
pro
your
drug.
position.
So
You
like,
shouldn't
it
trust
has
him with
nothing to do. So
philosophical
fuck Doobie's
position.
perspective.
Okay,
Okay,
but he's the
I'm
common
not-
nice
Okay,
man.
but
I'm
here's
not
my
saying
problem.
that.
Here's my problem.
Stay
Because
on
we've already had this
target.
conversation. We've already had this conversation. You're
Is that a
talking
Star
about
Wars reference?
Okay, you've had
Stay on
this
target.
fucking principled position that like basically like people should not be incarcerated for consuming fucking individually like drugs and all that kind of shit. But at the same time, you're arguing from a utilitarian or a communitarian standpoint
There you go.
that your way is better, but you don't have any fucking evidence to support it. And on top of that, in that previous conversation, when I said if we move to your model and there's more junkies, more broken families, more fucking kids with fucking basically drug addiction issues, more people fucked up, I said, would this change your position on your policy? And you said no, because the fucking principle still stands that I don't think people should be locked up for fucking
you're
drugs.
misrepresenting. It could be the case that you have.
Answer me again.
It could be the case that you have marginal increases in the usage of these substances were they to become legal. I think Doobie has said, the evidence is mixed, or he doesn't remember the evidence that usage rates in some places where they've legalized or decriminalized has gone down. I'm not here to speak to those facts, but it could be what I'm saying is there's a huge amount of cost, opportunity cost related to the tax that you're not getting. There's opportunity cost related, the actual fiscal cost if you're if you want to put people in prison for it. Which maybe not you, but other people do.
Whoa, Counter, you're interrupting every 10 seconds, dude. Can you just let him talk?
I'm asking for permission to politely interject because I'm getting really frustrated by this point. I don't think there's a single country on the planet that has legalized all hard drugs. The only place I'm aware of that has done anything is the Portuguese model, which has decriminalized drugs for possession, but still prosecutes trafficking. So the data,
usage rates did they skyrocket? Didn't they? Okay, I mean, they didn't skyrocket, did they?
No, the usage rates didn't. But that's because basically in lieu of arrest, they decriminalized, but there were still civil penalties. And not only were there civil penalties, but people were forced into rehab after repeat offenses.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
And I think that you're using the Portuguese data to support a more extreme.
I don't need to rely on their data. My data. So first, on the decriminalization side, which I'm glad that we're agreed about, and I'm glad that you agree with me, counterpoints, that we should decriminalize meth use. I didn't know that you were in support of that and decriminalizing
personal use.
Okay, so that is a great step, and I'm happy, leader. You agree, don't you, that we should decriminalize meth use and decriminalize heroin use? You agree, don't you?
Can I?
He doesn't agree. So there's people here.
I think every drug should be decriminalized.
Can I explain this to leader really quick, just so we can all be on the same page?
All right.
Okay, so basically, leader, what decriminalization basically does is it says that like personal possession is not the crime that you'll go to jail for. So, for instance, if somebody shoplifts, gets into a fist fight or anything like that, and they're high on an illicit substance like cocaine or methamphetamine or something like that, then basically what will happen is if they're caught using that drug and it leads to another crime, they can be arrested for the other crime. But if you're simply caught with possession of a simple drug or whatever, then what would happen is it's confiscated as contraband, and then you're given a civil fine. Then after this is the Portuguese model as I understand it. Then after multiple like civil fines, like third or fourth time, you're literally forced into state-ordered rehab instead of jail. That's decriminalization, and I want that to be clear. And that's decriminalization of personal use.
He doesn't know what decriminalization is.
I'd sort of get on with. I can sort of get on board with that.
Or what's your position? Let's get something clear here. Who's in support of criminalizing any drug? Is anyone in support of criminal? Okay, so come on down.
No, hold up. Trafficking. I'm not letting go of trafficking.
Criminalizing possession and usage. Okay, so no one is in favor of criminalizing possession and usage. I think that's a great step that conservatives and liberals and leftists all agree that we shouldn't be criminalizing possession and usage of drugs. That does take care, I should say, with a lot of the costs related to the drug war. And finally, we have this differentiation between full-on legalization and decriminalization. I think that the gains.
Real quick, Pisco, we're still saying that traffic is illegal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I presumably so. Okay.
Okay.
So let's take the other step. What's the differences in policy with respect to legalization and decriminalization? I think that there's net gains to be had in if the state is sanctioning the sale of drugs and is regulating it. One, you have regulatory power to make sure that these drugs are being sold in a safe way, that people know the quantities they're getting. That's going to actually, I think, reduce incidence of drug-related deaths. And I think that is a huge benefit, as well as the tax-related fiscal benefits that we'll get from actually taxing these substances. So that's why I'm in favor of legalization and not decriminalization.
Exactly. I mean, it would make a great slave class to have like a bunch of low-income people. They get hooked on these substances, and then they constantly have to go to the government for that for the the next hit and make a great slave.
Wow, I was gonna try to make a point and further Pisco's point, but then he said all that. What the?
You remember what I said about leader being dumb?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
so-
you can say that if you want, but that's essentially how you're doing. You're making people dependent on like.
Okay,
substances.
Nobody's making
Here's-
people
can I-
dependent. What are you talking about?
Okay,
can I make
counter? Are you positive? No, see, because I know what Pisco was trying to do, right? He's trying to differentiate these points, and he was actually trying to do counter a favor here because you all aren't saying the exact same thing. Counter,
Sure.
are you on leader's side here?
Okay, yes, and the reason why is because, for instance, so when we're in, it's specifically with legalization that he's talking about. Okay, the reason why I have problems with legalization, so for instance, like marijuana has largely been like legalized recreationally in the United States. I think that's a good thing, but at the same time, what happens when you have the higher taxes, when you have like the dealer's fees, the licensing, the administration, and all that kind of stuff, that artificially jumps the price of the substance. When we're talking about drug addicts, if they can't get their fix, they will get it however they can, which basically means that if they can't afford 50% more expensive cocaine or 50% more expensive methamphetamine or heroin, they're just going to go right back to the fucking street. And there are going to be people who fucking supply that demand.
I'm sorry. Hold on. No,
especially
you're
if
wrong.
you're not going
You're
after
wrong.
trafficking. This entire debate has y'all been.
You want to know why? Here,
confidently
Connor, do you want to
fucking
actually know
wrong.
why you're fucking wrong? Here,
Why?
because when you legalize a fucking thing, there's going to be more people who can make the thing. And oh my God, wait, that increases the supply of the thing. And then when you increase the supply of the thing, the fucking price goes down.
More
Holy
people
fucking
using
amazing.
it. Then you have more people using it. Then you have more externalities on it.
Baby.
This undercuts your entire point because from a
No,
utilitarian standpoint, all of us are trying to get people to consume less hard drugs and for less hard drugs to be manufactured. You literally just told me as soon as it gets recreational, we should go ahead and profit from fucking drug addicts. You just undercut your own
But
fucking.
wait, you know what I didn't say happens?
You may not only that. Not
You know
only
what I
that, you
didn't
just
say happens is more
How?
people fucking start using. Although in the case
Why
of
wouldn't
marijuana,
they? There's
What
In
are
the-
you
in the
fucking
case of
talking about?
marijuana,
Making
hold on,
way
hold
more
on.
available.
Why wouldn't you
Hold
do
on.
You just
Hold on,
increased
hold on.
availability and the price.
I
Why
know.
wouldn't it be?
It's going to be great. By the way, it's
People
going to be great.
go up.
Oh,
The amount of people using
wait,
go up.
No,
So,
Captain,
this
wait,
is
hold on,
contradicting
leader,
where it's
leader
at.
encounter. Questions to both of you. Just yes and no. Just yes and no questions. If somebody were to present you with some heroin or cocaine right now, would you be tempted to do it?
No, I'll be tempted to do it when I'm 80.
So wait. What's the difference between that and anybody else? Like, all of a sudden
Connor's is
heroin's legal
especially
and I'm going to go do
personal.
it? I would never fucking do heroin. What the fuck?
Okay,
Leader
do you
believes
know
that
what
there's
the
a class
difference is?
of-
Do you know
Well, I
what the
guess he
difference is?
believes there's a class of people who
Of
are just
sheep.
so fucking
yeah.
brain dead and they're so zombies.
He's the one who believes in that. Yeah.
Oh God, I'm gonna do heroin now that it's legal. Oh, you're like so fucking ridiculous, dude. Like you think in like such a simple way. Like it's so
Okay,
weird.
You need to
So
pause right
weird.
now. You need to pause right now
pausing.
because what
pausing.
y'all do is you seriously jump
Y'all,
between
'cause
fucking
me.
lanes depending on what the fucking argument is. Yeah, you're right. I consistently on every panel think that 40% of the population has difficulty brushing their teeth and they're dumb as fuck. And I don't want them to be fucking taken advantage of by weird fucking unprincipled fucking ANCAP dickheads and a bunch of fucking greedy capitalists
Wait,
that
you
are gonna
can't
like
even get 'em
fucking
to brush
exploit
their
teeth?
that are gonna exploit.
You can't even get them to brush their teeth.
You're a fuck. No, you're
fuck are you
worse.
talking
than
about?
Unironic
fucking
white
lawyer.
figure shit here.
Oh my God, seriously, Doobie, that's true. That's a good point.
What was Doobie's point?
Nathan, he wants to say something.
Okay,
Fuck.
so I personally wouldn't do heroin, okay? But I just have a feeling, and this is just a feeling, so I'll concede there. This isn't like hard evidence. I just have a sense that if like heroin is legal, you'll probably see like at least a slight increase in heroin use.
There may be a decrease in heroin-related
perhaps.
deaths. Does that matter to you? If there's less deaths,
There,
but more
I think there
usage?
would be less deaths if we decriminalize. This is like a weird like false dichotomy that Pisco's put
Yeah,
in.
you keep jumping
Earlier,
illegal,
I was
buddy.
talking about like about my position, and he said that I'm pro drug war. Nothing I said was pro drug war. I'm for completely decriminalizing all drugs. You said it that it would fix most of the issue, at least 80% of the issue. So yeah, that's my position. But
Why wouldn't you legalize? I mean, we want people when they buy this stuff to be clean product, and not something they OD on
You
because
want it to
it's
be
laced
clean,
with.
brother.
Wait, you want it to be laced with fentanyl?
No,
I
I want to
don't
continue
want it
to
to be
prosecute
safe.
fucking
Choice.
traffickers, motherfucker. I've said the same shit 8
Yeah,
times.
so I kind of want to hold on, let me try to back up Pisco here for a little bit, but he's my friend and I love him. All right, so I was thinking about this, right? And so we're looking at this from two different sides. One is the usage side, right? And I think everyone here is like, it's been established, everyone here is for decriminalizing that. We don't want to put people in jail for doing that stuff, right? Right? All right, 100%.
Relatively speaking, yeah.
But on the other side, right?
So what's the relatively speaking? I don't want him to be qualifying this. What's the qualification there, buddy?
Before
I've said the same
before
thing
you
16
before you
times.
rip each other's faces off. Give me a second. But then there's in terms of distribution, there's legalization and decriminalization, right? And I would think, because the problem of legalization is that it sets a legal standard, right? It's the problem and the benefit of legalization. It sets a legal standard, and anything that falls below that legal standard is then illegal, right? And so what Pisco said was interesting, where I was going to go with this, and that we want, if people are going to be using this, right? If we decriminalize drug use, because we know people are going to use drugs any which way, we literally cannot stop them from doing that. Then we, at the very least, we want them to use the safest of those dangerous drugs, right? So if they think they're getting cocaine, right, then they should be getting cocaine. I mean, we had on this platform our friend Stephen Bonnell, Destiny, who thought he was getting ecstasy and apparently got meth, right? That is dangerous.
What a great example.
Yeah, that is dangerous.
Seriously. If
Example.
you've never done that, that's fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
I've done that, and that's horrifying.
That's
I
not.
can tell you my experience. But go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, no, exactly. That's not. That's extremely dangerous, and yes, you can die, like, because you don't know what you're taking, and you're taking a mouthful, the thing you think you have instead of what you actually have, and that's an overdose waiting to happen. So.
He could have died. I mean, like, we were laughing and
No,
stuff.
no, exactly. I'm not.
This shit is serious. Like, it's,
Yeah, no
that's how people
shit.
die.
You know what my advice to fucking Destiny would be? Is don't do fucking hard drugs in a country that you don't fucking know
ecstasy a
anymore.
hard
Great
drug?
point,
Hold
Connor.
on, is
Fucking
ecstasy-
mind blowing
no,
advice
is
over
ecstasy
here.
a hard drug? Because he thought that's the thing. That's what Pisco's trying to get at.
Everything's
right?
a hard drug.
Ecstasy. At least I would think. I'm putting words in Counterpoint's mouth, right? But like I would
We all
think
love
he
him.
would say that at least ecstasy is not quote unquote a hard drug. But that's what he thought he was getting. So the point is that you would create a legal regime in which, like, all distributors, right, legal distributors, would have a better product that people could access, right? So people are gonna access this anyway. We want to go to a safe product, and then at that place, or at that distribution, right, like your local cocaine store, right? Bring the kids. You could also have treatment options.
Clean needle exchanges, maybe.
Right
But
there.
why have clean needle
Yeah.
exchanges? Because you're just encouraging people to do drugs. if
No,
you're
no,
giving them
no,
clean
no,
needles.
no.
So
No.
get rid of that stuff, right?
Right there.
That's
I'm almost done. All right. But then I think for the quote unquote hard drugs that we actually don't want people to use, right? The ones that we think are the most dangerous, we would legalize those. And then for the ones that we care less about, right, like marijuana, right, and I think ecstasy, might fall into that. Maybe, I don't know, you might disagree. But then we would decriminalize those, right, so that we can have more distribution in that area. But for the ones, especially that are the most dangerous, you want the government, especially, to say, this is good. This is what you're going to get. You can take this, but also, in case you're worried about getting clean, we do have some options for you right here available for you. Right? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
Yeah. Can I go?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So I looked up the numbers for cocaine deaths. This is from like the CDC. The way it's being framed at this point is like cocaine is like super prevalent. From looking, this is data from 2001 to 2014. None of these years has cocaine deaths gone over 10,000. Okay. People dying from
Who is this
cocaine.
against? Sorry, we were saying that it was less prevalent than alcohol and tobacco, and that alcohol and tobacco related deaths were
Yes,
more.
but like the
infectious.
arguments that were being made was like, oh, you don't want to legalize it, so you want people to get dangerous drugs. No, I don't want that. And frankly, if
what
we
does
want to
this
look at the
evidence bring to bear on that
percentages,
question?
when we look
You
at the
think
greater
people have to die, by the
population,
way,
when we look
by
at the greater
cocaine-
population, there is not a significant number of people dying from cocaine overdoses.
What is this evidence? You're just saying the absolute number
Okay.
of people who died from cocaine. It's not bearing
Yeah,
any fruit on
It's
whether or not it's
so when we're talking policy,
Let him finish the
I'm
point, then
not
he can
going-
contextualize it. That's it.
Yeah.
Let him finish the point, then he'll contextualize it.
when we're making like broader policy, and like if you're using the argument like, oh, you don't want to legalize, you want people getting dangerous drugs. No, I don't. And well, yeah, 1,000 or like 5,000 is a lot of people, but 5,000 is nowhere near even a percentage of people. It's not prevalent enough to make me say, okay, yeah, we need to make sure to legalize it for the sake of those people. I think that
Your evidence
there
on the
will be.
prevalence of drugs. Wait, let's stop right here.
I
Your
think
evidence
a
on the
good.
prevalence of
I
drugs
think
is how many people died from it. That's your evidence of it. So if I
that's
showed
a,
you
that's
how
a
many people
pretty
died from
good estimate.
marijuana,
That's a
okay,
pretty
so
good estimate.
how many deaths
With
related to marijuana?
marijuana,
That shows its
Yeah,
prevalence,
that's ridiculous.
guys.
with marijuana, marijuana is one of those
Marijuana is
things that's the
zero?
toothpaste.
You're in trouble
Yeah.
right now. I mean, you should back up from the
No,
claim
I'm
that
not in
Societal
trouble
impact is
whatsoever.
far more
You're
than,
just
than like
interrupting.
individual deaths,
So
right? It's also the
marijuana,
incarceration rates, the families ruined,
marijuana,
like the communities
marijuana
destroyed.
is
Like
one of those things that is
you're just gonna keep
already.
going. You don't care what you're saying is ridiculous.
I'm a finish.
My
I'm a
thing is
finish.
not ridiculous whatsoever.
That prevalence is related to
Marijuana
number of deaths.
is
let
very.
him finish, please.
Marijuana is one of those things where the toothpaste is out of the bottle. Okay, I've been saying it's so easy to get marijuana. I know plugs. Okay, I don't smoke. I'm clean. But
But the death rate's really low.
yes,
really
it is
low,
really
yeah.
low, and
Non-existent.
I
So it's
think
not prevalent.
marijuana should be fully legal because there's no practical way to get rid of marijuana, and frankly, the results of marijuana are significantly less bad than any of like these major drugs.
What do you mean?
Okay.
So Nathan
Any
says
fatalities?
America. So
Are there
Nathan
So-
says
any
America
fatalities
has
from
low
marijuana?
cocaine usage because so many little
So-
people die from it. Does anyone really believe that? That because so many people die in the United States because of
So
cocaine
little
usage,
people.
cocaine usage is low.
Well, it's little people dying.
I mean, you
That
know that
doesn't
we
mean the
import
usage is low.
tons of cocaine, right?
So the main
Like literally,
point,
Pablo
the main
Escobar.
point-
Yeah, that's the
the
whole
main
story's about.
point
Lane,
being,
dude.
the
You
main
gotta
point
pick a
being
lane.
is I am perfectly fine with decriminalizing all drugs like Portugal did, which allows an increase of people getting treatment, which will then have less people using those drugs. That's what I want to see. Okay,
And
that's
I
my
also
ideal.
I want to back up Nathan, and I want to address a point that Prime brought up. Basically, do you want the government to be able to guarantee the cleanness of drugs or whatever? Switzerland is already doing this. They're a decriminalized state, but you know what they're doing? They're weaning people off of hard drugs. They're not giving them quality heroin so they can get their fucking fix on the weekend. Oh, I'm gonna get that good fucking brown tar shit. No, they literally give them just enough to fucking help them out so they don't have cravings while they get their life together.
Okay,
That's
doesn't that sound like an amazing thing?
Doesn't that
That's
sound like where I
That's
was going?
decriminalization.
Why decriminalizing?
Oh my god, dude!
It could be
you're so
hold on,
silly.
hold on.
Counterpoints, please. That's so silly.
I'm-
That's not what decriminalization is.
decrim-
There's a reason
that's
that the
my
song.
argument.
Hold on. Counterpoints. Chill, bro. You can have it legal, but still have regulation on it. It's chill, dude. All right. I know. No. Don't make that face. That's just the true
So-
statement. And I'm sorry, Pisco. I know that I was really rude to you last round. It's really awkward, actually, that I'm agreeing with you basically this entire time. I gotta admit, it's a little awkward. Okay.
Captain
Okay,
A,
I
let
want
me
to
ask you a
extend my
question.
sincerest apologies now because now that we're agreeing on
Yeah, me
something,
too.
I've liked you a whole lot more.
Legalization.
But you get what I'm saying, right?
legalization
It can be
makes-
legal, but with regulation.
Under what I was specifically
Does that make
saying, I
sense?
think legalization makes more sense to talk in terms of distribution, right? Because we're setting a legal regime, like it gives, and then once something is legalized, it gives them access to all sorts of like levels of government protections, including like the courts, right? It gives them access to banking, gives them access to all the infrastructure, right?
Oh,
And then
I
we can
have a
design,
way hotter take.
we can devise policy around that, right? And so the policy, which sounds good, is to give them just enough to wean them off. I'm loving it. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
that would be the policy rather than decriminalization, in which, right, it's just that, well, we won't arrest you on this, but building an infrastructure, a healthcare infrastructure around that, something that's simply not, that is in a bit of a gray area, right, is a lot more difficult. So counter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have an even hotter take, which is actually like, it sucks that I'm going to open up like an entire fucking can of worms 10 minutes before close. But literally, so my hottest take is that basically the Western world should become like a hard drug monopoly. What I mean by that is that Afghanistan produces 90% of the world's opium. Like I want to say that like 90% of the cocaine is produced in South and Central America. Literally go to these cartels and say, you have two options. either we buy this shit and we use the raw materials at a certain set price in order to manufacture all of the legal drugs and also use this as basically like we said, to wean people off of hard drugs. We will buy it from you, and in turn you have to enforce the monopoly. So if there's any smaller organizations or outfits that begin like producing and trafficking or whatever, then basically you have to go after them in concert with the government. You're
What about
literally
quality control?
bringing them into the fold. So quality control, addressing this, because I want to address this for you, Captain A. Jones.
Please.
I don't think
Need
that
quality shit.
I don't think. Well, that's what I was going to say. Is I don't
look
think
for it.
drug addicts
You wouldn't
are
happen
going to
to know.
be. They're
I'm sorry,
going to be. They're not going to be interested in the drugs that I think the state would want to provide. Because again, this is like Charlotte's Web in the state of Florida. Charlotte's Web is a non-euphoric marijuana that has all of the health benefits of marijuana. That's what they legalized in the state of Florida originally. Now it's recreational. So that's what I'm saying is like, I would be looking to do the same thing with heroin and cocaine and methamphetamine, where I'm literally like, how do we make sure purity while basically giving people enough to get their fix while they get their shit together? I'm not interested in fueling the habits of people who are slowly destroying their lives.
I think just assuming that anybody
hold on.
does little cocaine.
I was just about to say that.
Oh,
Thank you,
God.
Doobie. Go ahead. Actually, go ahead. You can do it.
Sure. I think just assuming that people that do a little cocaine or meth or do some shrooms or whatever the fuck on the weekend, just assuming that they're destroying their lives, right? Necessarily because they're doing these things is kind of silly.
It's almost like these are different classes of drugs that have different consequences. I don't know why you said mushrooms. Why did you say mushrooms?
Because cocaine classes like rich bankers.
Yeah,
exactly. Cocaine is like. Have you ever done cocaine? Oh wait, you can't admit that. I'm sorry.
Are you asking me?
No, not you. Not you.
Connor,
no, I agree with everything you've said so far.
A lot of things have gone up that now.
True.
So really quickly.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Now
Don't
I do
drugs.
cocaine? What is it, Doobie? What the did I piss in your Cheerios? What the fuck did I do to you?
I love you, Connor. You're a great guy.
I love you too.
Okay, look. Okay, look. I just saying that these people are necessarily running their lives constraints, but I want to like address what you said directly. I think. Just to be clear about what you're saying, so you're saying that the United States should go to the cartels, say, hey, now you're in business with us. You send us your drugs, right? You produce drugs for us, and tell them they need to like stomp out the competition. But are you like? So what happens to those drugs? So do they just go to Big Pharma and we make like fucking or does the United States start producing meth, like some version of meth, and like selling it to their citizens?
Okay, so literally, I think meth is different because you can synthesize it anywhere. Coca is regional. Poppy is regional. So basically, what I would say is like 90% of the world's poppies are produced in Afghanistan. You could literally reduce the world's supply by just buying wholesale from Afghanistan.
Right.
Same thing with cocaine buying South and Central America. So what you would do is you would basically provide the world the legitimate use because poppy opiates have like legitimate medical uses in pain management. Same thing with cocaine. They have legitimate medical uses in local anesthetic. So you could basically produce the legitimate supply of local anesthetic and pain management drugs for the entire world, give them to the medical industry at reduced rates or whatever, and then simultaneously basically whatever you didn't use in the legitimate forms, you could use for these addict clinics, kind of like we were talking about, getting people off of these drugs so they can improve their families and their lives. And then whatever is left, you can literally just fucking burn and consider that the cost of doing business to keep the drug trade in the world under check.
Better idea instead of burning it.
You just love cocaine.
Let's hold on. No. You just advocated. No, fuck it. No,
we'll take cocaine off the list.
Counter fuck off. You
Jesus
just advocated for burning drugs, good drugs that are just burning it for no fucking reason. What's fucking wrong with you? I'm not the one who's crazy.
Listen, I've been guessing about fucking Doobie and Pisco's motivations because, you know, Doobie's like an evil Bond villain and Pisco's a lawyer. I know your motivations, friend. I know.
What are you talking about? I want to see people out of jail. Frankly, you don't care about that. And I want to see people not overdosing on heroin because it's laced with fentanyl. But you don't care about that.
No.
Yeah, I don't want people put in cages for their personal decisions about like what they put in their body. Like I don't think that's that crazy.
Wow.
God damn, Doobie the ANCAP. I want to fucking. Ooh.
God damn it. Now it's so awkward that me and Pisco got into it in the last round. This is just weird, man.
No one's thinking about that.
I know, but I want to bring it up to make it awkward again.
This is panel shows one-on-one. You fucking hate each other's guts, one subject, and line up perfectly on the other one.
Anyway, violence and interrupters. they just can't supplant the actual police. And
Yeah.
Dude, this became the drug war
Okay.
real quick.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys seem
Pisco for the segue.
you all seem really happy, so I was like, okay, we'll just let you guys have this. But my friend Jill the Silver Serious wants to come on later on after she's done her work on the open panel and talk about that, the leftist stuff. So that'll be fun. And maybe one of you will want to join us there. In fact, counterpoints, like I still desperately want you and Jill to have a fight. A discussion, civil discussion on my stream on one of these days.
Start a group DM Tuesday through Thursday. I'm not available. I'm available Fridays and Saturdays. So.
Tuesday through Thursday. Okay. We do have a group DM. It was months ago. That's why you don't remember it.
Listen,
but okay.
I love fighting Joe. Love fighting.